Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke, so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Welcome, welcome, welcome on this fine Sunday afternoon, evening, potentially even very early Monday morning. I don't know. It all depends on where you are. Anyway, I still need to work on my intros because I always start with my regular hello, welcome to Left of the Box, and then I end up just saying welcome, welcome, welcome again. I'm very welcoming of people here and in the sandbox. We have a lot of people here already. Let's see, if we go back up to the top, we have Mudbuds, the Baker Dozen's Cat, Monope, Brittany Stanley. I don't know if I've seen you before in my sandbox, so welcome, welcome. Looks like some people are working on some cross stitching. Sounds like, you know, a good tactile thing to keep your hands busy. I once attempted to get into it, but I didn't have the patience. We have MIDI doctors. Welcome. Bad Lefty. Lots of wonderful people. Teddy Cool. Yep. Oh, I'm glad you like my theme song. You know, I did it myself, believe it or not. Anyway, we have a lot to cover today. A continuation of something I was covering in my last live stream. That is the tragic passing of Nex Benedict. Something that strikes a chord with me, considering I'm also non-binary. And seeing somebody so young struggle so much with it, it is just so many mixed emotions in with that. But I also have a few other things to cover, partly how some of this trans panic is coming up here to Canada. Not shocking. If you've been watching my channel, you know it's already here. But just some incidences that happened recently that I feel kind of tie into this. But I also have some good things to share with you. The secret is out. I've been telling you all for quite some time. I've been working on a drawing and that it was done, and I was super excited to show you guys. Well, I can finally reveal it because last night I was online. Well, I wasn't live streaming, but I was on Dan's from the internet's live stream for about 15-20 minutes before he was supposed to start another show so that I could give him his birthday gift, because his birthday is February 29th. Yes, he is a leap year baby. And so now that he's seen it, I can show all of you. Ta-da! Yeah, let me move this out of the way. There we go. It's so hard to find a good angle that doesn't have the glare and that isn't tilted too much one way or the other and all that sort of stuff. So I technically didn't draw that for his birthday. I just kind of had this itch, this imagined vision in my head of what I wanted to draw, and it just happened to correspond with his birthday. So I presented it to him for that. We can go over it at the end of the stream as a kind of way to unwind and relax. I know some people liked it the last time I did the progression pictures, because I put together a progress video. It's just over a minute long, and it's of progression, like progress photos of the drawing all mushed together. And so, you know, we can unwind and relax with a little bit of that at the end. Also, talking about artistic stuff, I've been trying to change up my logo just a little bit. I'm not happy with part of it. And I'll show you if I scooch over here, you see at the bottom there, I've put left of the box in the corner, on the box, which, you know, I think is better than the lot B. So right now, I don't know if I can show you guys so easily, so I'll have to actually just bring up the photo. There we go. Let's do that. Yeah. So I'll shrink that a bit so you can see it all. So I have the left of the box, the lot B. I'm not happy with the lot B. Like, it's a nickname I would like for my channel, of course, but you know, I think it looks kind of odd there, and I'm trying to change it up a bit. But I don't know what else to put on the box, and I feel like just a plain purple cube isn't, you know, all that interesting. But you see, like, here's the trick with this logo, is that there's a lot of significance, a lot of meaning behind what you see here. So the color combination is that of the non-binary flag. Yellow, white, purple, and black, which I like. The whole idea of my channel of Left of the Box is thinking outside the box, but to the left of it. So that's why you have the light bulb and the box, you know, to show that you're thinking outside the box. Now, in the light bulb, you can see a little kind of figure 8. That's the infinity symbol. And originally it was for like infinite thought. But then it turns out that that's also the symbol, a gold infinity symbol, is the symbol for autism, which also kind of works. So I have all of that. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with the box, but I'm not thrilled on the lot B anymore with it. So any ideas on how to fancy up that box without it being too weird, let me know. I'd appreciate it. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's time for a little change to it. Also, there could be some indication of Canada in there. I know on my YouTube banner and stuff like that, I have a little Canadian flag there to kind of indicate Canada. So something along that line. I don't know though. I'm not thrilled with lot B anymore, and I'd rather just a box, but I'm not sure how to make that box more interesting than just a purple cube. So anything people can think of, let me know, and I'd appreciate it. Let's see. Let's check the sandbox before we get into the horrible news. Because we have lots of people coming in. Really thrilled about that. I tend to dawdle at first because I'm hoping people see that the live stream is on and come and join me so that they know what I'm talking about right off the bat, and they don't need to get caught up because they're already knowing what I'm talking about. Emergency remedial truth. Next is so sad, makes me more determined to always speak up when I see bullying. It is just not acceptable. Yeah, it sounds like that there's definitely the environment of harassment in Oklahoma and the school districts there, and totally unacceptable that the adults allowed this to get this far. It's not environment. The word that I'm thinking of, atmosphere of intolerance, that sort of thing. Let's see. Well, if you have any thoughts on the logo, because I might not get back to the sandbox with it, let me know in the where you leave the messages. The comment section, that's it. Wow, I'm not good for words today. The comment section under this video. Let me know any suggestions for the box on my logo as to what I can do. Oh, yeah. How can I have a box without a cat inside, says Clarence the Liar? I do know that reference. Schrodinger's cat. I suppose I could put a cat in it, but how would you know if it's there? How do you know there isn't a cat in there already? Yes, in the comment section, Bad Lefty, if you have an idea as to what I should do with the purple box in my logo to make it not such just a plain purple box and take away the lot B part, let me know in the comment section under this video so that I'll see it, because it might get lost in the sandbox. Anyway, yeah, so I've been posting some clips. I have a long video up that I posted from my last live stream about my coverage with Nexus story, which is, again, just super, super sad story. It takes a toll on me, and there was so much to cover, and so I have more about that story to cover. I also posted a YouTube minute. They're called YouTube shorts, but I continuously end up referring to them as YouTube minutes, of me talking about non-binary and teenagers and kids and stuff like that, and got some interesting comments under that one already. Yeah. Intolerance. Nothing like posting things online to find out what people really think when they can be anonymous in their comments. Okay, so how do I lead into this? Content warning. We're going to be talking about some horrible stuff here. There is actual body cam footage of Nex in the hospital, which is, yeah. I'm not going to show any disturbing parts of it, and they look, they don't look beat up in the hospital. But just knowing that's the last footage of them before they passed away is kind of haunting. So we'll get into that. Yeah, just a really devastating story. And we'll start with... So from Joy Henderson on Twitter, imagine this being your response to the murder of a 2S child. This pretend Indian hunting and colonial quantifying BS has damaged the very soul of people. So Oklahoma Council of Political Accountability said not Cherokee, though Nex's mom identified them as Choctaw. I've been seeing a lot of this floating around online, of people trying to dismiss Nexus indigenous roots. Their mother was Choctaw. I think that's how you say it. And they were residents on a Cherokee nation, but they were not Cherokee. But now there's all these people, oh, what's the word? I am so bad with words today. There's a lot of people now suspicious of Nexus heritage, of their indigenous roots. They're questioning it. They're denying it. And this is really just another way of stripping Nex from her identity, from who they were. And it's really sad that people would do this and focus on this instead of the focus of the tragic story to begin with. Instead, people feel the need to bring this into the forte of trying to make it about, what band Nex is from. Now, their mother does have Choctaw indigenous roots, and Nex is the biological granddaughter. So Nex's grandmother became her mother because the mother adopted them. But to me, it's just sad to see this. People bring this up, and from Agent Indian, how the fuck is your parent native, but you aren't? The fuck kind of bullshit is this? And a statement from Chief Gary Batten of the Choctaw Nation. The loss of a child is always difficult for a community and a family to accept. Although Nex does not appear to be affiliated with our tribe, their mother, Sue Benedict, is a registered member. So, yes. And I find it sad that after Nex's death, people are so intent on stripping away everything about them. Their identity, who they were. And it's just another layer to this that really makes it sad. And also, Joy had mentioned that they were 2S. I'm not entirely sure if that is the case. Because as far as I know, their mother never referred to them as 2S. I don't know if they ever referred to themselves as 2S. 2S stands for two-spirit, and that is a very specific thing within Indigenous culture. It's not default the person is queer. So it's... And there's people online, again, arguing and fighting over that. And just, how about don't? Just don't. There's no need to focus on these smaller details of this overall story. It's a much bigger story, and it's about the harassment and bullying and the culture within the Oklahoma School Board that allowed all of this to happen. To start then nitpicking on heritage and, you know, other details like, oh, what were their grades or something of that sort, just don't. You know, we don't need to get into the weeds of that. So apparently, Chaya Raichik, the owner of Libs at TikTok, says, hi, Independent, please check your email. I won't let you defame and print lies about me and blame me for a death. So Chaya is all upset that the Independent article that I read from last live stream is calling her out on her shit. And Alejandro Carabano says to that, why is Oklahoma government official threatening to sue a media outlet for reporting on her? I thought government officials dictating what an outlet can print was censorship, which, yeah, that is the case. But Chaya, as we'll get to later on, is very much trying to play victim in this. She wants to have no accountability for her actions or tries to claim that she doesn't know what this will lead into, when there is just story after story of the harm she has caused. There is no way she's unaware of what her targeting of individuals does. Like, that's why she does it. That's why she has any relevancy at all, is because she is this, you know, she puts a target on people. She riles people up. And that's the only reason why she has an audience. So she knows. She's just trying to play victim now that people are calling her out on it. But we'll get more into that in a little bit. So from Ari Drennan, police initially said the Lakewood church shooter was trans. Chaya amplified those claims. It was a lie. Chaya also accused an innocent trans woman of carrying out the Uvalde shooting. It was a lie. She should hold herself to the same standards as her critics. Yes. So Chaya doesn't mind lying, but as soon as she doesn't want what to be printed to be true, she'll claim that that outlet is lying and that they should be taken down. Whereas Chaya has done provable lies. There are provable lies of what she has said. And yet, it's not like she'll really correct herself on that. Of course not. She'll keep that up. She'll keep on, you know, tweeting out blatant lies about people to make them targets. And Libs at TikTok was tweeting out, breaking Oklahoma police along with medical examiner have determined that Nex did not die as a result of trauma from school fight. They're still determining the cause of death. And we'll get a little bit more into that. So from Erin Reed, she has a Substack, wonderful Substack. Please go check it out if you can. Police are currently claiming that trauma was not the cause of death for Nex, the trans kid who lost her life in Oklahoma. Either it is an enormous coincidence that they went to the hospital for a head injury after being beaten and died in the morning, or something is up in Oklahoma. And this is where we get into people saying, well, there was a combination of medication in their system, and really that's what it's like. No. The reality is, Nex would be here today if they weren't beaten up in that washroom. If they didn't hit their head, Nex would be here today. There was no medication that caused their death. Plain and simple. If it wasn't for harassment, if it wasn't for the bullying, Nex would be here today. But to claim that that trauma, the head trauma, was not the cause of death is, how can you have any faith in it when we know the consequences of that type of injury? We know what happened. We know that Nex was in the hospital and that they died the next day from this trauma. And for the police to just say, not the case. How can you not look at that with suspicion? Especially since, as we will get into, they've covered up this type of behavior from people before, this type of transphobia, this bullying that's been going on. They've allowed it to happen before. And this goes right up to the higher ups, the senator of the state. Like, it is just what they've allowed to happen from the words that they have preached. Like, this is what they've encouraged. This is what they want. They want this hostile environment for trans folks. That's what the people who run that state want. That's what the police department want. That's what a lot of the people in the school board want. That's why they couldn't have somebody who is part of the LGBTQ plus community to be a teacher. Because they don't want schools to be a safe place for queer folks. Plain and simple. And it is just outrageous that it's been allowed to continue this long. So Aaron is replying to this tweet here. If we go back a couple and then we'll come back out. So Judd Legum. Judd. I'll just go with the first name, Judd. Owasso, please do not release the autopsy of Nex Benedict, even though they say it is complete. But the police claim that Nex did not die due to trauma. But then why not release the autopsy? So that it would back up what the police are saying. If the police will not release the autopsy report, why are they releasing partial paraphrased information? And why does so much of this update use the exact language released by the school yesterday? Are the police investigating the school's conduct, or are they collaborators? And we've seen this type of thing before. Just some of the body cam footage when there's been a shooting. Just some of the statement, just some of the information to make it so that the police don't look so bad. If it is the case that trauma was not involved in Nex's death, then why not release the autopsy report so that everyone knows? And we can move on from that and be like, okay, so it wasn't the trauma. But to release paraphrased information, partial information, how can we have any faith in that? How can we have any trust in that? We can't. And so an update to that former one was Nex's family released their own statement. While various investigations are still pending, the facts currently known by the family, some of which have been released to the public, are troubling at best. We urge those tasked with investigating and prosecuting all potentially liable parties to do so fully, fairly, and expediently. Notwithstanding, the family is independently interviewing witnesses and collecting all available evidence. And that is where Aaron Reed is saying this should not be on Nex's family versus the Oklahoma Police Department. The Biden administration and the DOJ must step in with an independent investigation immediately. Again, this is something I've seen stories about, especially in the United States, time and time again. When it comes to Black people, when it comes to queer people, if there's been a crime, if there's been a murder, if there's been a theft of any sort, it's often on the victims to solve it for them, to investigate, to find out the details, because the police won't do anything. They'll find a very convenient excuse, convenient reason, convenient perpetrator, and leave it at that without digging any deeper. Or they'll just leave it unanswered. They'll be like, there's no way to know. Just no way to know. And then it's on to the victims or the family of the victim to then have to actually do the investigating themselves. And that's not a situation anyone trying to grieve a loss like this should have to be put in. Nobody should have to go through this. We should be able to have faith in the police department to do their job, which, yeah, if you're a fan of my show, you know that's not the case with the police. It is just all the money we spend on the police in our countries, and the results are just more militancy, more death by police, and the crimes that we want solved just get put aside still. So Alejandra had also tweeted out explosive new reporting about the investigation of Nex Benedict's death shows that Owasso police put out their statement, head off some of the national scrutiny. However, murder charges are still on the table. So Nex Benedict's mom raises doubt about police statement. It's a big cover. Police were investigating Nex's death as murder. Boatman confirmed that at this point, murder charges are still on the table. And how did that murder happen? Oh, right, with head trauma. And the Serfs had tweeted out just saying national security is everyone rightfully pointing out that Nex Benedict had been repeatedly bullied for being non-binary, that Chaya Raichik, aka Libs of TikTok, had falsely labeled a teacher they respected as a groomer, that dehumanizing leads to violence. If there is no justice for Nex in this, if there's no accountability, if everyone is just let off the hook, what does that tell other queer folks in that state, in that school? What does it tell bigoted people who want to inflict this violence? It tells them that they can get away with it. It tells queer people that you're not safe here. That if something bad happens to you, we're not going to investigate. We're going to brush it off. This is not a way for people to live. Nobody should have to live in fear of the state like this. But all too often, that is the case. And it's not just queer folks, it's Black folks in the States too. Definitely fall into this category when it comes to the police and their treatment from the police. If people are literally allowed to get away with murder of certain groups of people, what kind of democracy, what kind of state, what kind of country is that? Pretty scary one. And so Aaron Reed is following up, saying now police officers in Oklahoma are now backtracking after claiming trans student Nex Benedict's death was not caused by trauma and have filed search warrants suspecting foul play. Funny how when a lot of people started, pushing back against the claims that it was not related to the trauma, even though there's records of Nex being in the hospital and stuff due to that trauma, that the police have now had to tiptoe that back and be like, well, maybe, if we were doing our jobs, then maybe that would be the case, that there is foul play going on. Recent statements by the Owasso Police Department have raised serious questions about their ability to investigate Nex's death. Allegations of cover-ups, a long history of anti-LGBTQ+ sentiment in the school system have emerged. You can read their article there. Nex Benedict was a transgender, gender-fluid teenager in Oklahoma. They were reportedly jumped in the bathroom and beaten, leaving them with a head injury. Reportedly, the school didn't call an ambulance, and instead, their mother took them to a hospital. They died the next day. Many immediately condemned the attack, pointing to the influence of anti-trans leaders with power in the state. Chaya Raichik, who runs anti-LGBTQ plus hate accounts of Libs TikTok, was appointed State Superintendent Ryan Walters to make schools safer. The next day, the Owasso Police Department released a statement saying that their death was not caused by trauma, a statement that was immediately called under heavy suspicion. Immediately, this prompted calls for the Department of Justice to step in. Major LGBTQ plus leaders have stepped forward, echoing a call, including Brandon Wolf and Kelly Robinson. Similarly, a local former student has alleged that the school has a history of covering up issues around LGBTQ plus students there, as well as a history of allowing teachers to call LGBTQ plus students slurs. And we're going to go over this video. Content warning. It's difficult to watch.
Within the school. Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Eden. I am transgender and I graduated from Owasso High School in May of 2023. And if that school sounds familiar, it's because Nex Benedict, a 16-year-old non-binary student, was murdered in their bathroom. The school administration has never cared about the safety of its students. I was out as queer for 4 years and out as trans for 1. My experiences aren't nearly as bad as others. However, I got called slurs almost daily. I was called slurs by a teacher within the school. When the administrators were made aware, they failed to remove me from his class. When I was essayed in the bathroom of the school while being told he was curing me, the administration told me to keep quiet as to not ruin his life.
And keep in mind, this person was saying that their experience was not as bad as other people, which is beyond horrific.
The administration has never cared about its LGBTQ plus students. The murder of Nex is a direct product of their design. And Nex is not the only student who has died due to their negligence. Eli, a 16-year-old junior at Owasso High School, committed suicide on August 5th, 2021. Me and many other students begged teachers, counselors, and principals to get him help. These pleas fell on deaf ears. I went to adults every time he told me he was hurting himself, when he told me he was suicidal. I must have been in that office 20 plus times my sophomore year. They never got him help. The administration of Owasso High School does not care about its students. They never have, and now they are playing the cover-up game, one that they know all too well because they've been using it for over 10 years.
Just devastating. And it shows a broader pattern of the school allowing this kind of hate to fester, allowing it to grow. Nobody should have to go through that when you go to a place of education, a place where you're supposed to learn to become ready for the world. To have to go through that trauma? It's unthinkable. And the fact that it's been going on for years and years and years. If they wanted to actually make schools a safer place for people, they've had plenty of time to work on it. But the reality is they don't. They want it hostile to queer folks. Aaron Reed continues by saying, now a day later, it appears police are backtracking. A search warrant released today states that police now suspect foul play and are looking into the cell phones and lockers of those suspected involvement in Nex's death. And people calling for justice. And it remains seen if the Biden administration or the DOJ step in. Both have been silent on Nex's death. That's not surprising. Rarely ever have I seen leaders in the Democratic Party ever speak up against this hate when it comes to a state imposing anti-queer laws, anti-trans laws, bathroom bills. Rarely ever do you hear a Democrat with a platform say, you know what, they shouldn't be doing that. That this is horrible, that this is evil. Biden has never, as far as I can tell, said anything about that or has mentioned, you know what, everyone should be able to use the washroom they identify with. I don't recall any Democrat actually standing up for queer folks. So when the people who are supposed to keep us safe don't, you know what do we do? How do we overcome this? Like I've mentioned it before with Justin Trudeau, he does a lot of performative politics, no doubt about it. He's done some really cringy things that you know he doesn't believe in. But when it comes to queer issues, he actually is very outspoken. And I actually do believe that is something he believes in. And to have the Prime Minister of Canada actually challenge Danielle Smith on the anti-trans law in Alberta, to challenge the Premier of New Brunswick about some of their anti-trans laws that they were passing through the school boards. It means a lot to see your leaders actually stand up to this hate. I can't imagine what it's like down in the States to have the hate so visceral, so ingrained in the Institute, and yet not have any of the Democratic leaders forcefully speak out against it. It's unthinkable to me. Alejandra also points out a current trans student at Owasso High School specifically blames Chaya Raichik for being bullied, as many of the people bullying him follow Libs at TikTok and repeat what she says. Chaya doesn't care about protecting kids. She wants trans kids eradicated. Evan Powers, a trans student at Owasso High School, said he carries a bulletproof backpack along with books to use in self-defense. I'm quite honestly scared to go to school every day, said Powers 17. I have been bullied by people that watch Libs of TikTok. The atmosphere, he said, makes it almost impossible to get an education. I want to go to college. I want to learn about the world. I want to be able to have a safe space, he said. But people that post these things, it's affecting just being able to sit in a classroom, just being able to sit in a chair and feel safe. TikTok is predominantly a platform for younger people. And with the way that Chaya is branding herself, she is targeting younger people to see these, to see the lies that she's spreading. But she'll always just claim, oh, she's just reposting. But then she reposts with the words groomers, pedophiles, that they're a danger, that they're out to take your kids, that they're this horrible person, that something should be done. And she's even reposted a TikTok saying transgenderism needs to be eradicated. And we'll get to that in a moment. I think a lot of officials are really underestimating the influence Chaya has on younger generations and kids and what this does to children in school. And there's talk in Canada about certain anti-hate legislation for online bullying and stuff like that. And there's a lot of it that I'm not happy with. But a lot of it is I agree with. And I think there should be regulations. I don't think people should be free to just spread this hate, to make an environment so hostile towards trans folks that they don't even feel safe in school. There should be laws against that. There should be regulation against that. This is some of the body cam footage. At the bottom of it, there's the whole video, which is 20 minutes long, so we're not going to go over the whole video, but Alejandra has clipped out parts here. Again, it's very difficult to watch, even though there's nothing graphic in these videos, just knowing that this was the day before Nex passed. So, content warning watching this. Also, their mother misgenders them, which, if I'm being honest, is part of the reason why I'm struggling right now. Because their mother was still getting used to their pronouns, and this was still new. And to be under this much stress, there's going to be slip-ups. And it's important to be compassionate in these situations. And like, I even still slip up misgendering myself, believe it or not, because there's just so much habit, so much history of me referring to myself as a woman. But now that I've realized I'm not, sometimes when I'm talking about women, I'll include myself in it in a way that I didn't really mean to and didn't intend to. And if you've known somebody for 16 years and they change their pronouns to reflect their gender, it can take time to adjust. And so it's important to have compassion for people and understand what their intentions are, if their intentions are good. And Nex's mother was very supportive and very loving of Nex, and very, had a supportive household, had an open household. So I don't want people to get upset at their mother for this, especially in a time when their mother is in the hospital with them after, having to take them in because of this trauma and the stress that can cause. So, in the first one here, newly released body cam footage shows Owasso High School resource officer speaking with Nex Benedict and their family at the hospital. Confirms that it was 3 girls who were bullying Nex for over a month, and that they beat her on the ground in the bathroom after they threw water. So Nex was being harassed by these girls, and they had a water bottle and they tossed some waters on the girls, and that's part of the reason why the fight started. But keep in mind, the fight started with these girls harassing them, purposely targeting them. And then as soon as the person being victimized tries to stand up for themselves, then they're looked at as the instigator, which is not the case.
Hey, stranger.
Hey,
Oh,
Mr.
you-
Thompson.
I'm on. Oh, Thompson. We spoke on the phone the other day.
Yes.
So,
I'm glad you're here.
So, what happened today?
I got jumped.
Tell me about it. What happened?
They've been antagonizing, the people that I got caught with?
You mean from the other day, the vaping situations?
Yeah,
Okay.
that one. They were in this too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Where's my glasses? Can't see anything.
Sorry. Okay, what I was told, they called me. I'll just start here. They called me. And, well, I know all week long she's been in ISP, right?
Uh-huh.
Doing great.
Okay.
And everything. We had a long talk. I mean, we've been doing awesome. And she told me, she said, Mom, she said, these 3 girls there are just, they won't leave me alone. They're making comments. They're calling us names. They're throwing stuff at us. And this is an ISP. I'm like, well, who's over this place? I said, ignore it, Dagny. Get above it. Just ignore it.
Sure.
She did until she couldn't in the bathroom. And they said that there was 3 girls that were on top of her, just beating the crap out of her. And I said, okay, so what are we doing about this? Oh, well, in a couple of days we'll talk about it. I said, no, I want something done.
Who said it in a couple of days?
The principal.
Okay.
Why are they saying that? I said, I think we need to have a police officer. It's assault. Because she never touched them.
Okay.
She never touched them. Now she
But
did.
based on your understanding.
Yeah. Now
Okay.
she did, and everyone has said it. She did throw some water at them because they,
So let me, and I appreciate, Mom, you Hey, stranger.
Yeah, these 3 girls followed them into the bathroom, harassing them. Nex was bullied by these girls for over a month, didn't report it to the school because they thought there was no point given the climate for LGBTQ youth in Oklahoma. This is not surprising. And considering that the principal, in this clip they're saying that the principal is like, oh, we'll deal with it in a few days, when the principal should have been the one calling the ambulance to get Nex to the hospital, because this was assault. There's no way around it. It was assault. Nex was attacked. And the fact that the principal is like, oh, we'll get around to it. Is it any surprising that they thought that there was no point in going to the officials at the school to report all of this harassment and bullying before, when they knew it would do nothing?
Something. At any point during this whole situation, when this situation.
These are on autoplay. So apparently Nex never knew these girls before being put in school suspension, ISP, over a vape pen. The girls in ISP kept making comments about Nex because of the way they dressed. The girls mocked Nex in the bathroom. Nex poured waters on the girls, and they proceeded to beat Nex.
Because I'm trying to get this in my mind so I see, as best
I had a
can.
water
This
bottle.
autoplay is really annoying. Nex poured water on one of the girls from the water bottle. The girls started attacking Nex, who tried to fight back. They fell to the ground while the girls proceeded to beat Nex until they blacked out. And we'll go over this one here.
Pouring the water. Because I'm trying to get this in my mind so I see, as best
I had a
can.
water bottle.
Thank you. That's exactly. Where did you get this water? Was it a cup you found? Was it your water bottle?
It's my
your daily water bottle you carry around.
It was a plastic water bottle.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you squirted them with water, or threw water on whatever it was. Okay. Then at that point, what happened?
They came at me. They grabbed onto my hair. I grabbed onto them. I threw one of them into a paper towel dispenser, and then they got my legs out from under me and got me on the ground, started beating the shit out of me.
Okay.
And then my friends tried to jump in and help, but I'm not sure. I blacked out.
Pouring the.
I'm not sure. I blacked out. And the principal didn't think it was necessary to call an ambulance. The police officer confirmed that the school did not follow procedure and notify police of the assault. The officer makes excuses for the school and then blames the mother for not calling while at the school, even though she called once at the hospital, thus this video. And the full video is up on YouTube. Quite honestly, I don't have the heart to watch it. It's just seeing them talking like any other teenager, knowing what's about to happen to them is just, it's devastating. And here's Alejandra also saying, please note the mother was still getting used to Nex's pronouns and named Nex is misgendered and then named in the video. The family is supportive of Nex. All the evidence is right there of what happened. Or just at least Nex's story of it. And yet, where's the other side that people always want to hear? Where is there any pushback to what Nex is saying? There isn't any. It's just so tragic. Nobody deserves to die like that. Sorry, I'm trying to find words to be a little bit more expressive and to get my thoughts out there. It's just I am struggling with this. To see this beautiful child, knowing what's about to happen to them. It's very difficult. All for what? For hatred, for bigotry, for people not understanding, because it's popular for Chaya Raichik to spread all this hatred online and to get people ramped up and thinking that somehow queer folks are the people that need to be taken out of existence. It is just gross. And so this person here, Samson, says, now time for public comments, allowing 10 different people who signed up to speak for 3 minutes. First, it's Oklahoma City Councilor Sean Cummings, who goes after Libs of TikTok founder Chaya Raichik for what he says inspires threats to Oklahoma schools and the death of Nex Benedict. So instead of this video, we'll watch this video of it because it's actually the full statement. The other one is only half the statement and the audio isn't that great, but Tizzy has the full statement from, what's his name? From Sean Cummings. He has the full statement here and we need more of this.
Before I start, we spoke last month and your Chaya Raichik tweeted my deal out before I left. I had death threats, city council threats, everything else. Real nice, but that's the person on the library board now. As we expected to have happen, because it's happened 20 times when she talks. Now, I want to look at the Owasso situation here, and I don't want to sit here and say I'm the Nostradamus of everything because none of it's funny. I would open up with a joke usually because I pegged this so correctly. You and your rhetoric and your inability to do anything as a board here are partially responsible for emboldening bullies to jump a girl in the bathroom. 3 older girls don't just jump a 16-year-old in the bathroom for no apparent reason, especially when they're of the alphabet community, who you personally have attacked ever since you ran for office, and you brought in the chief attacker of this, Chaya Raichik. Okay, it's on you. You remember when I said the blood's on you guys and everything? I think what you're looking at now is a federal lawsuit for each one of you personally, and I hope it happens because it'll bankrupt you. And I hope it happens for you, Ryan, because you're money-oriented. I hope it bankrupts you as well. There is legal culpability here. No Title IX was followed. Teacher didn't turn it in. Principal didn't turn it in. Is it mandatory reporting? Is that what it's called? Mandatory? Give me a nod. If you're on the school board, you should know. Is it mandatory reporting for somebody to report a hate crime? Is it mandatory? Did I not tell you this was going to happen? Yet here I am again, and I'm sure when I leave, your Chaya Raichik chick will tweet my stuff out again and I'll get more death threats. That's who you brought into the room. You emboldened these 3 girls yourself. Chaya Raichik emboldened these 3 girls by being on the library board. It's already difficult to be in high school. It's very difficult to be different. But when somebody's attacked for being different, this isn't even about the death part, because that's coming next. And we'll see who gets charged and how many families lose their children to prison.
And I think that's another point that's often getting missed with this is this toxic hatred being taught to children. Because now these other girls who attack Nex, they should be punished for what they did, but they also, like, I believe in restorative justice. They should be taught why it's wrong, to become better people, not to be punished for the sake of being punished. And the reality is they could go through all of that. They could go through counseling in the prison system and things of that sort, but they're going to end up in the same toxic environment that made them so hateful in the first place. What Chaya Raichik has done, what Ryan, I can't remember if he's senator or governor or whatever the hell he is, what they've done has also ruined these other children. For them to grow up and be, well-adjusted adults at this point is never going to happen. It's not, there's so many different victims in this. Like, ultimately, Nex paid the price of it. They are the ultimate victim in this. But those other girls, they don't have a life that they were going to live anymore. Because they should, end up being charged. But ideally, I want them to get help to make sure they never do that again. so that they end up speaking out against this kind of hate. But given the criminal system in the United States, the way the cops are even at this, the way the governments are, the way the culture is, I don't think those girls are going to get the help that they need either.
You are liable. You. So what are you going to do about it down the line? Literally, what are you going to do to change your behavior? It was real nice that you said thoughts and prayers for everybody at the beginning. You brought it on. Did Chaya Raichik do something at that school against an alphabet-friendly teacher? And she ended up getting so many threats she quit? Yet you still brought her on, and within a month, magically, something happens. You have no deniability here. It is a pattern. Forrest Gump could see this pattern. You don't deserve that. You have actual blood on your hands. No matter how sincere you probably practiced it in the mirror to look sincere today. Look, you and worthless ass Chaya Raichik, literally blood on your hands, and everybody that still sits at this table shouldn't have shown up today and done some kind of a protest to show you're not okay with this. Get a backbone. Literally, it's embarrassing. I am humiliated and embarrassed for every one of you that showed up today. Shame on you, man. And as I told you, sooner or later, you're going to get a parent who comes after you and yours. That's the way this works. Keep it up.
Thank you, Sean.
So very, very powerful statement from that person. We need more people speaking up like that, because it is just so outrageous to see this pattern that everyone sees of Chaya Raichik targeting a school, having death threats, having incidences of hate crimes going up, bomb threats, all that sort of stuff, to look at her and then be like, you know what? We should give her a job looking after the safety of children. Like, how do you get past the door with that? Like, and she doesn't even live in the state. And yet she was given this job from Ryan to help with children. That's how you get a job these days. Incite bomb threats, hatred. Show a pattern of doing that over and over again. And then you get offered a job? People shouldn't be getting rewarded for this. But all too often on the right, that's exactly what happens, is they get rewarded for their horrible behavior. More from Ari. Listen, we don't want that filth in our states. Yes. So Oklahoma State Senator Tom Woods responds to a question about the death of Nex Benedict, a non-binary student following an altercation in a high school bathroom. These are the role models of Nexus of the state where Nex died. So it's also the senator, and I think and Ryan, the governor, the person who hired Libs of TikTok, Chaya Raichik, onto the school board. The audio isn't very clear in this one, but I think the part where he says this horrendous line is clear.
Year-old died after being beaten in a Wasso high school. What do you think of that? They were targeted because of some of these bills and some of the things that Ron Walters has said.
That wasn't true. No, that's not true.
That's horrible. That is horrible that anybody is beaten up and died. That is. I don't know about that case, but I promise you I will check into it. I'm being told time's up.
Live mic. So my time's up, but I want to say one thing as an educator. As an educator, I took the oath to educate students, not indoctrinative, and I'll always take that stand. We're there to educate our students, love them, nurture, and help them to be successful.
My heart goes out to that scenario if that is the case, but we represent a constituency. We're a Republican state, supermajority in the House and Senate. I represent a constituency that doesn't want that filth in Oklahoma.
Yeah, heard that loud and clear. Represent a constituency that doesn't want that filth in Oklahoma.
We are a religious state. We are going to fight to keep that filth out of the state of Oklahoma because we're a Christian state, we're a moral state, we want lower.
A Christian moral state that, you know, encourages this kind of hate. That's what a Christian moral state does. Mock a child who died at the hands of bullies.
Taxes want people to be able to live and work and go to the faith they choose. We are a Republican state. I'm going to vote my district. I'm going to vote my values, and we don't want that in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, vote his values. Moral Christian state. Yes, Oklahoma church employee and substitute teacher Walter has been arrested for the sexual abuse of a 12-year-old girl at his church. Moral Christian state. You see, he's the actual danger to children, not the teacher that had to end up leaving their job because they were supportive of queer students. No, this person, a church employee, this moral Christian man, he's the danger. I'm sure not many of us are very surprised. And we'll get a little bit more into who exactly Chaya is right now. But Alejandro tweeting out, Chaya's immense stupidity can never wear just how profoundly evil she is for mocking a dead teenager right before they died. And so Chaya had retweeted this from somebody saying, I'm sorry, but this does not look like someone who was beaten unconscious a few hours ago. And he's an expert at this, is he? That he could see the trauma to the back of their head, to know that they blacked out, to see in their skull and know what kind of trauma happened in there. You know, you can look at somebody who is beaten and not be able to tell that they're beaten. And, oh, what's that? Oh, right, an Israel flag in the bio name. So we're dealing with a Zionist here, potentially. Not shocking. But the fact that they're in the hospital being treated, that's an indication that there was some trauma that happened. But no, Chaya is fine just mocking this poor child for the trauma that they went through. Well, apparently there was an interview with Chaya Raichik from Taylor Loren. And I've seen clips of it. And it still just ends up flooring me how unspectacular this person is. Like, literally, I get the high school vibes from her, like sitting around in Spare, smoking a joint, talking. Like, she is just so immature for her age that it's hard to believe. I believe, like, what is it? She's over 30 or something. Can somebody check that for me in chat? Yeah. Let's see. Try a Raichik age. My phone is slow. Try a Raichik. Age. Okay, somebody saying, so the age is not really known from the looks of it. Somebody mentioning that Chaya is 28 years old. But she talks like a 15-year-old high school student. I kid you not. Everything she says in this is what you would expect to hear from a 15-year-old high school student. And so Libs of TikTok creator Chaya Raichik on her recent focus on Oklahoma schools I was there once. They have, unfortunately, a lot of wokeness in the red state, and I'm trying to help. That's what she says. She's also wearing a t-shirt that's some sort of meme of Taylor Loren, which is, you know, the mature thing to do when you're being interviewed is to wear a t-shirt of the person you dislike right in front of their face and be like, huh? I'm wearing a t-shirt of you while you're interviewing me. Look at this. I invested money in this t-shirt to mock you while you're interviewing me. And Taylor just didn't give a shit. But this is really
How did you get connected with Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, and how many times have you been to that state?
I was there once. They have, unfortunately, a lot of wokeness in their red state, and I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I was there once and a lot of wokeness. Yeah, as I was driving through, there was like this thing in the sky. It looked it was a rainbow. There was a rainbow. Definitely woke there.
How'd you originally how did Oklahoma get on your radar as opposed to some others?
Because I started posting about the stuff going on in schools there, like I do across the country, and then, people were very upset that this was happening in their schools.
How did you
Yeah, I started posting because, that's what adults do is that they post when they see things like this and they want attention. And yeah, I just started posting this stuff and people seemed to start retweeting and reposting what I was posting. And then that just made me want to post even more because I want to point out all this wokeness, but I'm not going to be specific as to what wokeness I saw because, I was just passing through, but I could tell it was woke. I could tell it was so woke there. But just don't ask me specifics because, I don't know. It was woke. Tell me I'm wrong with that impression. Really. And Alejandro saying, there's a reason why she's only successful on Twitter. Chaya is incredibly vapid with no original thought at all. Just circular terminal Twitter brained logic. And we get into this clip of Taylor doing a good job interviewing Chaya, but just absolutely you push back on Chaya in even the slightest, and she's in a logic loop that she can't seem to break. Like she can't understand. It's like she knows what Taylor's trying to do, but she can't figure a way out of it.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You reposted.
Yeah, so about that. Chaya Raichik is now calling to eradicate all trans people. This is blatantly genocidal and an incitement to violence. Libs of TikTok had tweeted out another young innocent girl who destroyed her body because she was sold the lie that changing her gender will make her happy. Incredibly sad. This is what leftism does to you. And there's a picture of a child here with the words over top saying transgenderism must be eradicated. So, in the first 7 seconds of this clip, Chaya is blatantly lying because to acknowledge what she did would make her look really bad.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You reposted a post that was advocating for that. What would happen to the people that have already medically, socially, completely transitioned and are leading happy lives? What would happen to them? I mean, what's your plan for that? If transgenderism doesn't exist, which it seems like that's what you believe, what happens to all the people living happy lives as trans people?
Well, first of all, the whole trans it's based on a lie. You can't change your gender.
Okay, but
you can express your gender though, and your gender might not match what people think it should be when you're a child. because trans women are women and they were always female.
So they could go live their life. I mean, I can't tell someone what to do in their house.
Sounds like you do want to tell people what to do in their house.
I never said that.
So you're totally okay with people being trans, just not as long as they're in public?
No, I never said that.
No, like people are free to do what they want in their house, but this whole thing is like based on a lie. And so they're not allowed to do that, even though, they would be in their own house. But, people are allowed to do what they want in their own home, so long as it's not based on the lies that I believe. That's what I'm trying to say, is that people can live the way they want in their own homes, just so long as I agree with how they're living.
They could. The whole thing is based off of a lie, and I think that this lie cannot be mainstream in our society.
And I know a lot about lying in mainstream social media because I do it all the time.
It's a lie.
And what harm is it causing, do you believe?
I like the truth. I like truth.
Right, but
what kind of answer is that? The question was, what harm is this causing? And Chaya's response is, I like truth. Truth is good. Truth. Truth. Truth is an ice cream flavor I like.
But I'm saying, what's the harm of people expressing their gender identity differently than you believe it to be? What harm are they causing?
Like I said, we are a nation of truth, and I seek the truth.
But I'm asking about the harm. What's the harm? You might.
But we're in a country of truth. And when you're in a country of truth, I can't answer questions, because if I had to answer it truthfully, then I will look like a cunt.
Might believe it to be false, but what's
the harm is that there's a lie that is very mainstream and is being embedded into every institution.
I guess I'm wondering what the material harm is, aside from it's maybe something that you disagree with, as in your version of the truth is different than their version of the truth. What is the material harm of them living their life as a woman or man or gender that you don't agree?
Not anything that's wrong is there a material harm necessarily.
So there's no harm.
I didn't say that.
No, I didn't say there was no harm. It's just I like living in this nation of truth. I like truth. And so, there is harm, but I'm not going to tell you what that harm is, because, this is a truthful nation we live in. And just so long as people aren't living this lie, because, again, we love the truth here. I want to marry the truth. The truth is so hot. Really, if it was just me and truth, then I wouldn't have to even have this social media presence. No, I didn't say that there was no harm. I'm just not going to tell you what that harm is. Really? Huh. A complete and utter loser. Tell me she's not. Where's the truth? She is 15 years old in a body that, is looking 28, 30. I don't know her age. I'm horrible at guessing people's age. But, she does not have the maturity of an adult. And to prove that, this actually happened.
Thinking, when you think about the way that you put out content, I'm curious kind of how you're thinking, when you think about the way that you put out content and the way that you think about growing your media empire.
Here, this is a blowjob.
Did she just find out what that is?
Media empire.
Here, this is a blowjob.
You're thinking, when you think about the way that you put out content and the way that you think about.
So we're talking about putting out content, the content that she's doing about growing your audience.
Growing your media empire.
Here, this is a blowjob.
What? I have never done that when I'm being interviewed by somebody to look up a blowjob on my phone and then hold it out to them. Is this her trying to say that this is how she's growing her media empire? It's like, oh, look, a blowjob. This is what I do to grow my media empire. A blowjob. I love that.
What, I don't know what, I'm curious kind of how you're thinking.
What? Like you just like, I just found out that there's this thing in this very truthful nation. It's called a blowjob. And I have it on my phone because, of course, I carry around porn on my phone like everyone does. And here, look, see? See, I'm showing you porn, even though you didn't ask for it, but I'm showing it. I'm putting it in your face. And I'm showing you this blowjob here that's going to help me grow my media empire. Look at this. I'm putting it in your face. See, this blowjob is in your face. See what I did there? I'm putting this blowjob in your face because I'm mature like that. And, you know, we all live in this truthful nation. And yeah, like transgender people, they were just sold a lie. See, blowjob. See, gotcha again. You looked. I saw you. You looked. You looked. I saw you looked. This is an adult, I think. A woman, an adult woman, just shoving a picture of a blowjob in somebody else's face during an interview that's, you know, there's cameras. She knows she's being recorded. And she did this. I just... And she gets a job on a school board. She gets paid tons of money. I'm doing all of this wrong. Like, I want a job with a certain organization, so... Like, there's a specific place that I would love a job with. So do I just, like, target them with bomb threats, get people to send that in, and maybe dox them a little bit, and then, you know, start sending them pictures of blowjobs? And is that how I get the job? Do I get a job that way? Or do I get called a stalker? As an adult person, if I were to do all that stuff, would I get the job or be called a stalker? Because that's really what Chaya is doing, is she's stalking the LGBTQ plus community. She's making them targets for harassment. She's doxing them. She's stalking them because she has like this obsessive relationship with them, which is, again, coming from somebody who's supposed to be an adult. But it wasn't just that. She was so bad on so many things. Because she even went to the replacement conspiracy bullshit in the same interview. And as Mehdi Hassan points out, sad to see a Jewish person so obsessed with appeasing her far-right fan base that she's willing to explicitly endorse an anti-Semitic, neo-Nazi, deadly conspiracy theory that led to the biggest massacre of Jews at the Pittsburgh synagogue in modern American history. Yeah, she goes there. She goes there.
There were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S.
That just... How is she not 15? That sounds like somebody who's 15 years old that just watched Alex Jones. Yeah, like I heard that there are like more illegals coming in this country. There are like people being born. Like that's a lot. That's a big number. Don't ask me for specifics again because I don't know. This is just something I heard.
does that not look like they're trying to replace us?
I guess sort of imagine America as a melting pot. Isn't that sort of what America...
Okay. Taylor definitely has this mask on outside to hide part of her facial reaction to this interview. But I would also want to mask up if I was anywhere near Chaya too, because God knows what she carries. But it's just like, she must be laughing her ass off behind that mask. Like, how do you keep a straight face during this?
No, but they're actually bringing in more people than are actually being born.
So I guess it sounds like you sort of do ascribe to this theory of the Great Replacement. How does that make you feel?
I just look at the facts and the numbers.
Well, so, I mean...
Yeah, I just look at the facts and the numbers. Again, don't ask for specifics.
Just let's give a corollary, right? A lot of Jewish people fled, Europe, came over here also as immigrants. And there's a lot of criticism towards Jewish people in those movements, in those far-right movements. So I'm just wondering, as a Jewish woman, sort of how you feel about that and your role in cultivating this fan base that might think of you as a minority or an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Not all cultures are equal. Mm-hmm. Chaya, if that's what you really believe, I hate to break it to you, but, Jewish people, they suffer a lot of harassment and abuse and anti-Semitism and threats of violence, and the stuff that you like pushing on other people happens to the Jewish community, because there are people out there that believe not all cultures are equal. The people you are sucking up to, Chaya, are the very people that want to see done to you what you inflict on others.
Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of concerns about educational materials and books, library books and things, especially...
They're importing people who want to destroy America.
What? Again, Taylor starts off with, okay, so you've been talking a lot about books. I'm thinking, okay, so this is going to go into like a book banning thing. And then suddenly it's back to, they are importing illegal people. Because, that thought is just catching up in my head again. And it's on repeat. And so I had to say it out loud. Sorry, what were you saying? Oh, right, books. I read one once. Right, and then, there's more illegals coming in the country than there are people being born in, like, the entire world. More illegals coming into the United States than there are people in, like, the entire world.
And who come here and do not stand for what America stands for. So, and I think...
And America stands for truth.
And we see it. There's time after time after time after time. They come in, they're destroying our cities, they bring crime with them, and they are bringing them in to replace us. And yeah, I think people from various countries, they're all different.
And she is the person that people like Elon Musk will take cues from on Twitter. That you have politicians in the States basing legislation around the bullshit that she passes. This is the serious thinker of the ages. This, philosopher here. She's the one that speaks for the masses. Wow. And then to top this all off, this is just, she had this interview. She knew it was being recorded. No doubt about it. She can see the cameras. And it didn't stop her from crying. Of course, Taylor Lorenz did the scummiest move possible and released the interview when she knew I would be offline for 24 hours. I can't like respond to everyone, even though it's like I know the words I said. So I could have said something, I could have posted something, I could have been prepared, but no, she released it when I was like totally away from my phone because, you know, there are times that I'm away from my phone for 24 hours when I'm grounded and I'm told to go to my room and I'm not allowed to have my phone. But yeah, no, she posted it while I was grounded. Mwah. What a complete. Again, this is an adult. An adult. And just again to show the long pattern that Chaya tries to, you know, claim doesn't happen, that she's not at fault for people being targeted with hate. From Ellie, someone mailed a swastika to my home after Chaya Raichik posted about my HRT sharing network. I received hundreds of death threats, and her followers even contacted my university professors to harass me. It's been 2 years, and I'm still threatened via her posts. She knows what she's doing. So, Chaya had tweeted out, Ellie admits in a damning tweet that she's still operating the drug trafficking operation, which I busted a few months ago. She admits that she will continue sending drugs to minors, even in states where it's banned. And she was, quote, tweeting Ellie saying, I order 4 times more estrogen and testosterone blockers than I actually take. You should too. Several states have now banned trans medicine for minors, but we won't let a single young person go without medication. We'll provide care ourselves if youth can't access formal medication. Nothing wrong there. It's sad that this is the lengths that people had to go to just to get proper medical care. And yet Chaya is mocking that. But, you know, some people look at what's happening and, you know, sometimes you just want to vent. You want to see bad things happen to bad people. Someone bought ChayaRaichik.com net and is now using it to criticize her. I am responsible at ChayaRaichik.net. Welcome to my upcoming truthful website, ChayaRaichik.net. Over these next couple of weeks, this website is being built to the place to get everything you need to know about me and how do my rhetoric not only where the bomb threats, but a precious life was lost. Did I mention the head of the schools where I inspired the bomb threats hired me? I have no educational background, but he was super impressed by my rhetoric and the blowjob I showed him on my phone. I hate what scares me. This is the person. Hello, I'm the one who purchased the domain for Chaya Raichik 10, and I'm currently building her website. And this is Toby Morton, apparently a former writer for South Park. After many warnings advising me not to move forward, I've decided to release a new page every other day until the full website is finished. Tonight, please enjoy the About Me section and get to know the insufferable Chaya. Much more to come. Love it. Love it. ChayaRaichik.net. See. Oh, you can't quite see it in the corner there. Here. It says, I am insufferable right up in the corner here. You can't quite see it. Because, yeah, unfortunately. So about me. I am so tempted to do this in the voice. In the Chaya Raichik voice. Do people want me to read this in the Chaya Raichik voice or to move on? I haven't read this, so I don't know what it says. Welcome to ChayaRaichik.net, your place for everything Chaya. We give her a website and amplify her platform. I've been asked this multiple times over the past week. Chaya orchestrated anger into threats that affect not only children's hospitals, but dozens of schools across the country. She needs to be held accountable. Her hate is partly responsible for multiple bomb threats, as well as the death of a student. She is currently a voice in the Oklahoma school system, and this needs to change. I'm just checking chat to see if anybody really wanted me to do that. You can also go here and read it yourself. But also a little bit more. There's no real positive news out of this story, but something at least showing that there is some good in the world. The family of Nex Benedict, an Indigenous non-binary student who recently passed away, has raised over 8 times their initial GoFundMe goal thanks to an outpouring of support. So this was to help with funeral arrangements and things of that sort. The family will be donating funds to help support other LGBTQ plus students facing discrimination, and the Surfs was tweeting that out. Nexus parents and family described the late 16-year-old as a loving person who got straight A's and liked playing video games, reading books, and drawing. They also say that even with the bullying, Nex was confident in their gender identity and educating others. After the family's GoFundMe raised almost 8 times their initial goal, an update posted to Nex mothers announced the rest of the monies will go to other children dealing with the right to be who they feel they are, in Nex Benedict's name. Also, there's a petition going around. Tell Governor Stitt to fire Ryan Walters. Sign the petition. So I will remember to link to this petition in the description box because I totally meant to do that before I started the stream, but I totally forgot. I'm not entirely sure who can sign it. I'm not sure if people outside of the country can sign it. It's from change.org. But I can try signing it. And I'll remember to link this in the description box. Also, this type of thing has started to float around. Don't do this. Just don't. Somebody basically trying to claim that Chaya is transgender. I don't care how horrible the person is. Do not accuse them of being trans as a way to bully them, to single them out, to make them feel bad, to harass them. It is not appropriate. Do not support people who do that. You don't use other people's identity to bully somebody else. Yeah, just don't. Oh, so that was a long segment. We'll check the sandbox. I think there's been people saying a lot of stuff here. Let's see. Scroll up. Let's see. Bad lefty. They have blood on their hands. They do. The baker doesn't cats. I thought Obama stood up for queer folks. He might have. Once upon a time. I don't know if he has now. But it's also important to have sitting Democrats actually do that. Bad Lefty, Alejandro, and Aaron are doing great reporting on this story right now, and LGBTQ plus issues in general. Thank God for them. Yep, they're great people. Clarence the Liar. Emma on MR read my comment recommending Aaron Reed as a semi-regular, so let's hope we see her on more often. That would be great to get more representation. Majority Report is great. They do great coverage of queer issues, especially trans issues, but no matter how good they are at it, it's not the same as hearing it from somebody who actually lives in the community, who's part of that community. BKK transgenderism is a right-wing framing. Being trans isn't an ideology. Correct. Yes, it's not something, it's not a style, it's not a fad, it's nothing. It's their way of trying to claim that they're not trying to get rid of people, just the way of thinking and their behaviors, and it's all garbage from the right. So people mentioning that Nex was very patient with their mother. Yeah. Yeah, with my mom, I basically don't even expect it. At her age and everything, I don't expect her to ever refer to me as something other than her daughter. She'll always probably refer to me as her daughter, as opposed to just saying her child. She'll probably always refer to me as a woman. At her age, I don't expect her to change, and it's okay because, you know, she is supportive in her way. You know, she doesn't, she tries to understand even though she might not. And like I said, even I slip up because I've been going my entire life mostly because it's only been the past few years that I even clued into it. And once I clued into it, it made so much sense. Like I look back at my life and it's like, no, I've always been non-binary. I'd been saying it out loud my entire life. It just took me a really long time to connect those dots. I think for people in the sandbox wondering, I think Nex was found unresponsive at home the next day and then taken to the hospital and later declared. MIDI doctors, he was very effective at communicating exactly what these idiots had done. Talking about the speaker at the council. Yeah, really, we need more people like that standing up. Emergency remedial truth. That filth was a kid and seems like a nice kid, and your hatred killed them. Yeah, referring to queer people as filth. When I showed you the very next thing is like, no, the predators we often have to be afraid of overwhelmingly are cisgendered men. Cisgendered heterosexual men are overwhelmingly the perpetrators of all sorts of violence. Let's see. Clarence the Liar. I can imagine Woklahoma as a queer-owned knick-knack shop with those little engraved spoons, but also trans pride flags and tasty jerky. Zero PE. I remember Sam saying the fundamentalist Jewish community she comes from oppresses women to the point where they turn out like her. That is scary. Bad Lefty. Sandy says the things YouTube won't let me type. I wonder which words those were. Clarence the Liar. I'm pretty sure that's some kind of sexual harassment. Yeah. How is that any different than sending somebody an unwanted dick pic? Just shoving a picture of a blowjob in their face. Like, that is not appropriate under any circumstance, let alone while you're being recorded during an interview. Like, it's not appropriate in any setting. Let's see. People mentioning what they did with the flags to make that into the swastika, because of course they did. Yeah, horrible people. Okay, so let's see what I have next on my docket. So should probably get to the other things that are kind of in the title and description of this video. So as we've been seeing more and more of recently, this type of hatred, this type of stochastic terrorism, it doesn't stay restricted to the States. You know, it's not a phenomenon only there. It spreads. And a lot of that spreads up here into Canada because our culture is heavily influenced by what happens in the States. And vice versa, even though, like, not as much, but, you know, a lot of our hatred gets exported down into the States where it then, you know, plants and grows and then gets re-exported back up here. It's all a cycle. And we are going to be having an election in the next year or two. And this is going to become an issue. This culture war bullshit is going to be an issue up here in Canada. And let's get into it then. From Leah, Pierre Poilievre is anti-trans and anti-choice. So Pierre Poilievre is the current leader of the Conservative Federal Party. The only freedom this guy is fighting for is the freedom of extremist views. Freedom is about protecting the human rights of all, time to speak out against right-wing extremists fanning the flames of hate and division. And that's in reply to this tweet from Kay. Trans women in Canada are under attack the moment that began with gender diverse and trans children is now expanding to target the rights of trans adults. I call on those who believe in justice and dignity for all to push back and take a stand for what is right. And in my last live stream, I believe it was my last live stream, I mentioned that the Canadian Intelligence Services has said that we're most likely going to be seeing a spike in hate crimes towards LGBTQ plus people in the next coming year. And part of it is we have our conservative politicians like Pierre Poilievre, Danielle Smith, the Premier of New Brunswick, platforming this hatred, spreading this hatred. Danielle Smith had Tucker Carlson, went on stage with him to talk about replacement theory and other horrific things. So Pierre backs banning trans women from women's sports, change rooms, and bathrooms. Conservative leader says federal jurisdiction may limit what he can do to restrict trans women access, and that is true. The federal government can't necessarily implement, they can make things difficult, and it's usually the provinces that find the workarounds, the conservative leaders of the provinces that find ways of making place more hostile to queer folks. But he doesn't have to be successful with legislation to change the environment, to change how safe it is for people in Canada to be trans. It doesn't need to be passed. The attempt, just trying to do it, does a lot of damage, emboldens a lot of hateful, bigoted people, makes it more dangerous for trans people to exist in public. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre stepped into debate over trans rights on Wednesday, saying biological males should be banned from women's sports, change rooms, and bathrooms. Female spaces should be exclusive for females, not biological males, Poilievre said in Kitchener, Ontario. The Conservative leader made the comments after being asked if, as Prime Minister, he would introduce legislation to prevent transgender women or biological men from participating in female sports or entering female prisons and shelters. A lot of these spaces are provincially and municipally controlled, so it's unclear what reach federal legislation would have to change them, Poilievre said. But obviously female sports, female change rooms, female bathrooms should be for females, not biological males, he added. Last month, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith unveiled, that sort of horrible stuff, issues with the puberty blockers. And here's Trudeau, again. He actually speaks out on this. Trudeau says Poilievre is picking a fight with trans kids. This pronoun policy follows similar moves by New Brunswick and Saskatchewan. So they're talking about the policy to out trans children to abusive families if the child is unable to get their parents' consent to even unofficially have a gender change or a name change in their schools. So even unofficially, the parent has to know. And if the child is not safe telling their parents, then it forces teachers to misgender the child. So last fall, 69% of delegates in the Conservative Party convention voted in favor of a motion that said those under the age of 18 should be prohibited from accessing life-altering medication or surgical interventions to treat gender confusion and dysphoria. But you see, they're only saying medical treatments for this specific reason. And when you do that, it's called discrimination, because they're fine if children have other life-altering medication or surgical interventions for other reasons, but for this one specific reason, suddenly they want to get in between people and their doctors. Trudeau responded to Poilievre's remarks later Wednesday, telling reporters in Edmonton that Poilievre would rather pick a fight with trans kids than deal with the real problem facing Canadians. I think Mr. Polyev and politicians like him are choosing to attack some of the most vulnerable people in our society as a way of deflecting from the fact that they are very good at creating division and anger, Trudeau said Wednesday. But so far they have been terrible at putting forth any concrete solutions for for the big problems that all Canadians are facing in their daily lives. The Prime Minister also said Polyev has no policy solutions for issues such as housing, climate change, and childcare. And of course, it is a distraction. And some people say, like, oh, the culture war doesn't matter. But I've used this analogy before. It's kind of like saying, you know, the culture war is a distraction from the real issues. It's like saying they threw a bomb into a crowd to distract the fact that they were robbing the bank. A lot of damage is being done. People are being hurt. Lives are being ruined. Lives are being taken from this culture war. It's not a superficial issue. It's a big, important issue that needs to be addressed, but people like Polyev are using as a way to deflect from the fact that they have no solutions for people. They have no way, they don't want to make the lives of Canadians better. There's no plan on housing. There's no plan on climate change. The only plan is to keep making their donors and the wealthy few even wealthier. That's it. So how exactly does he intend to police this? So Rachel Gilmore, another person who's wonderful to follow on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, is replying to Faye Johnstone, who tweeted this out. Pierre Polyev has publicly voiced his support for banning transgender women from women's spaces. This is an assault on the rights of transgender women and will result in more homeless trans women and more trans people subjected to hate. This is a war on trans rights.
Female spaces should be exclusively for females, not for biological males. Female spaces.
Yeah. And so Rachel was just commenting on this, saying, will any woman with short hair or an androgynous style be forced to undergo a genital exam? Personal liberty for me, but not for thee, I guess. This is harrowing in so many ways. And yeah, there is no real way to police this. And again, it's always the focus is on transgender women. It's always there. Whereas trans men are invisible. It's like they don't count in this. But it's always a misogynistic, patriarchal way of looking at things like, oh, we must protect the women, the poor, precious women, the sanctity of womanhood. We must protect that from these biological men, where trans women are overwhelmingly the targets of hate and violence. Diana had tweeted out, the more that gender difference is positioned as a threat to heteronormativity, the more that violence against trans women is legitimized. Mr. Polyev, the threat isn't biology, it's your normalization of transphobic violence, which will lead them to harm, death, and homelessness. And yes, this goes towards what I was saying when, even though Pierre Polyev doesn't, if he gets to be prime minister, he doesn't have the power to implement a lot of these policies that he wants seen put in place, but the damage will be done. He's making it a safer environment for bigots to attack people, to justify their actions. It's just... And this despite somebody pointing out a kid was just killed because of policies and rhetoric like this. Absolutely vile. And Sherry is pointing out this is against our laws in Canada. This is so trumping is really set to break our human rights codes so as to pacify those who would beat up their most vulnerable. Remember the first folks in Berlin to be rounded up in the 1930s were trans folks. And yes, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada does protect people far better than people get protected in the United States, but it's still, there are ways around it, and conservative leaders will find any way around laws that protect the rights of individuals if it serves their bigoted agenda. And it's something that we always have to remain vigilant of. So we are safer in Canada than we are in the United States, but we are not safe here. And it's important that we, stay vigilant. Because things like this end up happening.
Well, a town in Alberta has voted to ban rainbow crosswalks that celebrate Pride. It passed by a slim margin in Westlock, that's north of Edmonton, after put to a town vote. CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti is tracking the story and joins us now with more. Miriam, good morning, and take us through this vote, what led to it, and what it means.
Well, good morning, Roger. Yes, this vote happened late last night, and there were 24 votes that ended up having this motion passed. And this is about just over 1,300 people who cast their vote. And essentially, this now means that the existing rainbow crosswalk just outside near City Hall must now be removed. And they did excuse.
What is so scary about this? Like, this is what right-wingers are terrified of. A rainbow flag. They're terrified that somehow this is going to attack them, that it's going to leap up from the ground and hurt them. This very pretty flag is somehow a danger to society.
Implement restrictions saying that only government flags can now be flown in the town. And this all came about last September when a group demanding neutrality in public spaces delivered a petition to council with signatures from 10% of the town's nearly 5,000 residents. And we also know that this happened last year in a town in southern Ontario. But essentially, leading up to this vote, the town's mayor did ask members to vote opposing this vote. He even listed out a series of videos asking people to consider, the LGBTQS+ community, and saying how, having this ban might impact the community in terms of having people want to move to this town.
Yeah, because these flags are basically letting queer folks know you're welcome here, that this community supports you. That's all it does. It doesn't try to make people queer, doesn't try to make people transgender. It's just letting people know that you're safe in this community. And how dare we allow queer folks know that they're safe in a community?
Now, is this something we've seen in other cities as well, or is this a first?
Yeah, well, this isn't the first in Canada that we know of. We know that there was a town in southern Ontario, Norwich, that had this happen. And we do know that this happened with pride flags in the municipal area. And that decision was actually overruled last month, leading council to pass a motion allowing a list of pre-approved flags, including the pride flag. And we know that there is a community flag in that town where the community can kind of just gather in that one area. So there is still space for that. And so there is a possibility that this could be overturned in Westlock. We know that there has to be a petition that has to be put forward, but they will have to wait about a year for that cooling period. So because that did happen in a community in southern Ontario, there is a possibility in Westlock. And as I mentioned, this vote only happened because of 24 votes. So that really goes to show that every vote matters. Roger?
And this is why it's important to stay plugged in municipal issues, municipal elections, is so that when something like this comes up, you can gather up your friends and family and vote in a way that actually supports the queer community. But they were talking about in their town where pride flags were being banned and stuff. And the reality is, it goes against the Charter of Rights and Freedom. So there's always going to be challenges to that when they do that, which means then the city has to spend money on courts and taxpayer money and stuff like that. But the breakdown here was reporting on this, saying by a difference of 24 votes, the initiate led by TBA affiliated organizer Benita Penderson, to ban rainbow crosswalks and any flags, including Indigenous or Métis, passes in Westlock. So ballot question, do you agree that only federal, provincial, and municipal flags may be flown on flagpoles in towns of Westlock municipal property? All crosswalks in the town of Westlock must be standard white stripe pattern between two parallel white lines. The existing rainbow colored crosswalk in the town is to be removed. And you can see it's just 24 vote difference. And so when people attack the queer community, it's not just the queer community that gets targeted, because here it's also banning Indigenous flags, Indigenous and Métis flags and patterns and things of that sort. And this is always from the group of people that's saying, what about our freedom of speech, and all that sort of stuff. But nope, you're not allowed to express your freedom of speech. You know, if a community feels that this is a good way to show support for the communities that are within, how dare you? You know, is what a lot of these people are saying. And again, it's because usually the right gets more motivated, they get more ramped up, they get more people, you know, energized to go out and spread the word. Whereas a lot of people who agree, like, yeah, sure, there can be a rainbow flag there, they don't necessarily have that fire under them to go out and vote. So it's important when you see things like this happening in your city that you encourage people to go out and vote. And so this is in relation to this. Douglas W. Judson, our firm received this email through our contact tonight. I don't think that's its representative of Albertans or the people who live in Westlock, despite what those in my mentions might want me to believe. Nonetheless, it is disturbing how emboldened this hate has become. And he is a lawyer, and I imagine that they are going to be challenging this. But he was sent this message. First name, Hitler was right. Last name, ban LGBT and Jews. With a Hitler was right email account. I'm going to be censoring this as I read it. Message, stay away from my town, Westlock, with your mentally ill LGBT pride stuff. Sick people like you have pride in taking up the ass and being mentally ill freaks and are a cancer to humanity. Westlock voted against LGBT crap, so respect that and F off with a bunch of slurs. The harder you mentally ill LGBT slurry type words push, the harder normal people will push back and ban you from our towns, cities, and land. So the person who sent this likes to think that he's normal. And this is the hate that's being emboldened, that's being encouraged by our leaders, both in the States and here in Canada. When you have people like Pierre Poilievre, you know, saying that trans women don't have the same rights as other women. We can dictate where they go. We can ban them from certain spaces. It just emboldens hateful, bigoted people like this. But there is some pushback happening, at least. Thanks to an amazing donor, hundreds of these lawn signs are coming to Westlock very soon. Pride can't be canceled by a vote. You'll soon see the most rainbows ever in Westlock history. And this is from a tweet from Dr. Christopher Wells. And it's a whole bunch of Pride lives here and everyone is welcome here. Pride lawn signs that will be going up all over Westlock. I do worry that some of the houses that put these up will become targets of vandalism, as has been the case in other cities, but I love the initiative, and you know, I hope to see a sea of rainbow in Westlock. That would be fantastic. Okay, well, let's check the sandbox. And then I think we can do the unwinding and I can show off the drawing again that I did of Dan from the internet, the secret drawing I've been working on. Because it is Dan's birthday on February 29th. He is a leap year baby. Apparently he's only 7. If you go by that exact, it's the 7th time he's been able to celebrate it on the 29th. Ugh. Let's see. BKK, no hate like Christian love. Yeah. Grand Theft Autobot, Oklahoma is a very religious state, isn't it? Yet it's woke too? Yeah, it's both at the same time. I was looking up slogans and stuff like that when I was trying to find titling for this video, and apparently one of the slogans for Oklahoma is trust in God. So, but it's a very woke state. From Myris. I'm not entirely sure I'm saying your name right. Yeah, woke folks live in red states too. I live in Kansas, saw 3 Trump flakes today and 5 we stand with Israel. Yeah. Zero PE, they never just stop with one group. They always keep expanding their hate to everyone. They do. Clarence the Liar. The people who joke about no one watching women's sports are the same people who are now pearl clutching over the sanctity of them. Yeah, they don't care about women's sports. BKK, David Dole said Polyev had a makeover, so I looked him up and he really did. Oh, yes, he has. And there's photoshopped images of him going around. I showed one on my last live stream. It's ridiculous. And it's just him being very insecure with his masculinity. And a lot of the adjustments he's doing is just to affirm his gender. Medi doctors, it's the anxiety that men may be attracted to trans women. He is why trans women get hate. That's part of it. The homophobia, the absolute terror that some men feel that they might be gay and what that would mean to them. Instead of, living in an environment where they'd be free to express that sexuality to find out if they actually are gay or not. Because some men are just so afraid at the thought that they might be that they lash out, even though they may have never had the thought or something, but they're just so horrified at the thought of it that they become extremely homophobic and hateful. Instead of, again, just being secure and safe enough to be like, tried it, wasn't for me. Let's see. Clarence the Liar again. It's basically when people explain their inability to get anywhere in the world as not as a result of capitalism, which would word count end, I think. Well, let's get into some nicer stuff. Some more relaxing, I think. Relaxing stuff. So I did another drawing that I've been telling you guys about for quite some time, and that was of Dan from the internet. And it just happened to basically coincide with his birthday. I wasn't actually planning on doing one for his birthday, but I wanted to get it done by his birthday since I had the itch to do it. And this one was a bit of a challenge because I'll show you the drawing, the final project here. Now let's go back to the screen for that. This one was a bit of a challenge because I had the vision of this image the way that I wanted it to without the actual screen grab. So normally what I do is I find a good expression of somebody in a video and then I just do a screen grab, whereas with this one I had to search for the expression I wanted. I had to search for the pose I wanted and all that sort of stuff. And wow, this is really bright suddenly. Let me just, there we go. No? Sometimes this fixes it when I just do this. Okay, there we go. Camera. Yeah. So I had to basically work from 5 different screen grabs in order to put together this image I saw in my head, and it's still not exactly the image I wanted, but it's very close and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So I always start by doing the outlines. Hopefully you guys can see that. And so from here, I actually then reverse Photoshop it into a blank page. So it starts with nothing. And then I am still, when I look at this, and I've traced the basic outlines of this. So with this one, the face was one expression, like one screen grab. The mic was one screen grab. The hand was one screen grab. I then had a screen grab of his hair when he had the blonde tips, just so I could get an idea of the texture. I also had a screen grab of his tattoo that is on his arm over here. Because a little while ago I asked him, oh, can you tell me about your tattoos and show them off? Just for this reason. But I look at this and it's just the basic traced outlines, and I'm still floored that somehow this, what you're seeing here, will turn into that magical drawing at the end. I don't know how I do it. And as is usual, I start around the eyes to get that. And I always start around the face and the eyes because I'm not too concerned about the background. It's a matter of, can I get the right expression in the face? Can I feel like it's him? And this is actually my second attempt at this drawing. My first one, I got to about this level, like this far through, and I'm like, no, it's not working. And so I started over. And as you can see, I start just adding down kind of like a base coat of lead in a way. Like I always start with a lighter pencil and work my way up to a darker pencil. And this was tricky because it's a lot of dark tones. Brown skin, black mic, black hair. And this is why I prefer to work from colored photos, because black and white photos don't necessarily give a good distinction between different colors, because it's the same shade, but a different color. And this is where I have to make choices within the drawing as to what shade I'm going to make certain things so that it still communicates that it's black, but it doesn't blend into the background or blend into the object it's on top of. And so you can see that's that is as much of the tattoo as showing, and I had to ask Dan to show off his tattoos and print off a screen grab just to show you a partial part of his tattoo. But I saw it in some of his other videos, but I didn't have a good idea of what it was. And I wanted to at least know what I was drawing so that I could do an accurate thing of it as opposed to just random lines I saw. And then again, it's just kind of like a base, like nothing, I knew nothing in the hair would get lighter than this, and just start layering on different shades of dark. And here, like even with the mic, in the way that I smooth it out in the end, so there's several techniques for smoothing out the lead, and I'll go over them when we get to them. But for the mic, what I decided to do was to not smooth it out at all, so it stays a little bit grainy, just to give it that extra texture and to separate it from the background and the rest of the mic. Now this is where this weird kind of like autistic thing kind of happens in my brain. I will sometimes just see the pencil I'm supposed to use next. I'll be starting on their part and I'll get a flash in my brain of like 3B for H. And there's H pencils and B pencils. B means softer lead, H is harder lead, and the softer the lead, the darker it is. The harder the lead, the lighter it is. And for some reason, when I was about to start this part of the mic, like drawing the mic, I had a flash in my head of the H pencil. I have never used the H pencil before, but it was the exact pencil I needed for the job. To give it a dark, but also a metallic color look to it. And I had never used that pencil before that I can recall. And yet somehow my brain knew that was the pencil I needed next. And so a lot of the initial parts of drawing is just to put down like base shadings, but then making it darker and darker. Now, something people might not have noticed here is I actually changed the fingers. So if you go here, you see it looks a little weird. And that's because the image I was using, his index finger, the fourth finger here, was actually hidden behind this, his middle finger. So it only looked like he had 3 fingers. And so I actually, that was something that I didn't have a reference photo for. So I just manually changed that myself to actually show that there was all 4 fingers visible. And I was just doing a lot of like looking at my own hand and what it looked like when I turned it. And it's hard to tell here, but I have in the background now, like again, a base coat of lead, and this is just mostly scribbles, and this is when I start getting into like the different smudging techniques. So on the t-shirt and background and stuff, there's these smudge stump things that you can get. It's like a mesh, a paper mesh that is that is compressed into a tube, and you use it to, you know, smooth things out and to smudge the lead. Now with it, you have to be careful because it can often make it look darker. So if you don't want it to go darker, then you have to do that. But if you want to smooth out the lead and keep it about the same color, you use your fingers, and it tends to work better that way. And so as you can see, I increasingly just keep on working on making it darker at different points. And then add in some of the texture to the t-shirt. And continue on, just making it darker and darker as I go along. And part of this is to, if I make a mistake in the lighter leads, it's easier to fix. But when you start going this dark, if you've made a huge mistake, it's hard to fix that. It's hard to erase it back to where it should go. And in the mic here, I've actually exaggerated some of the features on it. So you wouldn't look at this and be like, that's an exact duplication of that mic. Because again, I'm making artistic choices just to show the different points and parts and to make things stand out a little bit more and to make things more dynamic. And then I usually like to add different shading into the background, but keep it a simple shading. So a dark focal point and then radiating out a bit of lightness. And here he is playing with his hair because that's what I wanted. And that's the final picture there. So from here to here, one of the final ways that I do of smoothing out the lead, because it's you want to get nice smooth features. The thing I use is actually a makeup thing that you use for eyeshadow. Those little, the things that you use to put on eyeshadow. I have one that I use specifically for smoothing out the lead in my drawings, and it works like magic. It does a really good job of just softening up everything that I want. But it's hard to tell because these pictures never give... This looks like the drawing, but to see the drawing with your own eyes is a whole other thing, because you can see that there's different textures within the hair, different densities and things of that sort. You can see just like the details, like if you look around the collar of the t-shirt here, it then adds this other little striping, the texture of the t-shirt in there. And this is not a standard portrait that I would do for somebody if they were to commission one. Like somebody could commission a portrait like this, but it's going to cost more because it takes a lot longer. This took me 25 hours to do. 25 hours. But I really like how it turned out. But on this camera and stuff, it's hard to see a lot of the really tiny details that I put on. Let's see if I can, will it focus here? I don't think it's going to focus if I hold it. Oh, there we go. It's focused a bit. So you can see some of the really tiny details that I've added. I wonder if I turn off the light, will it look better? That's the thing with the lead, is that it's hard to see sometimes because it's reflective. This is also a larger drawing. I think that one shows it pretty good, that angle. So it's about a 12 by 10 drawing. And yeah, I like working on these type of drawings. I love working at the fine detail level of them, and you know, to make nice crisp lines where I want, but smooth other lines and add a little subtle shading and everything. And yeah. Okay, let's see. What is in the sandbox? So, I told Dan, you can go back to his channel, Dan from the internet, and see the video for the first time, because I've put it together in a art short. You can go to my YouTube channel to check it out, where you just see it merge all magically together. As opposed to me clicking on each picture, the video does it all in just over a minute. And you can see Dan see it for the first time. Because he said that I had a birthday surprise for him, but I never actually told him I had a surprise. I told him that I wanted to go on air to say happy birthday to him. So it's a good thing I had a surprise for him. But I did this for my portfolio, so I intend on keeping the original, but I told him that I would send him one at cost, because unfortunately I don't have a lot of extra money to send him a print. Unless one of his friends want to, send him a print for his birthday, then they can get in touch with me. So let's check the sandbox. Some of the people really loving my artwork. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed this one, and I didn't know how well I'd be able to draw Black people, because it is a very different technique and stuff, and I think I nailed it. Because so far all the people I've drawn are white, except one woman I drew was from Syria, but her skin is very, very pale. So thank you for all the compliments in the sandbox about it. Monope saying that I'm very sneaky, probably when I was asking Dan about his tattoos. I do that ahead of time so that I can get that. Eric Nolan saying they are more organized. It's not just that they get riled up and energized. They are also well organized, sure feed and driven by anger and misplaced hate and attribution of societal ails. Yeah, I've talked about that before too, is how well they get along across borders and they organize. We're talking about the right wing and how well organized that they are across the borders and how they support each other. And, there's not a single right-wing rally or protest up here that doesn't involve American money and Americans coming up. Just like there's not a single right-wing protest or rally down in the States that doesn't involve Canadians going down and Canadians sending money. They are working together globally. And we need more left-wing solidarity to help combat that and just to get that organized. Zero PE, intuition about my sense of what pencil to use. It could be. It surprised me that a pencil I don't recall ever using was suddenly flashed in my brain, and I used it and it's like, oh, this is the right pencil. It just happened that way. Myra's fingers transfer oil to the drawing surface. Does that affect pencil? I know it does watercolor. I would imagine it depends on the type, but I try to keep my hands off as much as possible. I try not to, I only handle the edges of the paper right now, but ideally you don't want to be handling the artwork more than is needed, just given that there are oils and stuff on your hands. And it's something that I have to be careful of, that if I'm eating like cheesies or something of that sort, to really make sure I clean my hands before I get back to the drawing, because the last thing I need on it is like an orange stain from the food that I was eating. But you can put your hand on it and smudge it around, and the lead still goes on over top of it. It's just the oil affects watercolor in particularly because oil and water. But it doesn't have the same effect on pencil, and that's why a lot of people will use their fingers to smudge it. But I try to find techniques so that I'm not touching the paper as much as possible. Clarence the Liar, you should do a drawing tutorial sometime, Sandy. I've thought of it, but I don't know what I could teach, because this is just kind of something you have to have. I could tell people what I'm doing, but it's not going to help, because in a way, seeing the progress photos are my tutorial. You can see the steps that I'm going, and then other people can do something similar to that. But there's not a technique that I can really teach people, like unless I do a stream where you're actually seeing me work, because I'm not consciously thinking about it. The pencil is just working. Like it is like magic to me. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. It just kind of happens. You know, I put very little thought into a lot of the drawing. It's just the pencil moves where it needs to go. And how do you teach that to somebody? You can't really. But people seem to think that I might make a good art teacher. I would encourage people, that's for sure. Emergency remedial truth. I paint posters, much cruder art, but carries a blunt message. Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't draw nearly as good as you, but people have their own styles, their own techniques. Some of the most powerful drawings I've seen are like political cartoons. You know, there's been some very powerful ones of those that I've seen, and I can't do those. Like I have a hard time simplifying it down to a cartoon. So, but a lot of those drawings can be very impactful. A lot of, you know, colors and images and things thrown onto a paper in a way that's not realistic, but really can express and emote in a way that, you know, a realistic portrait can't. But like the thing is that I do add to the pencil portrait, so it's not an exact duplication of the picture. So I try to add some emotion into it, and I really wanted a sense of like somebody who is thinking about how to relay a message in that drawing. Like that was an expression I specifically wanted of him. And the expression is almost spot on, but I wanted him looking off in the other direction, but he almost never looks in the other direction. So I had to stick with him looking in the direction that he's looking in that drawing. Myris, the darker background makes light places on his face really pop and draws the focus there. Yeah, that's something that I do. Here, I'll do this since it's still up. Because, and again, you can't see it too well on this image here, but I do shade all the way to the edges, and part of that is intentional to make the white look even whiter, and that is a technique. So when you want a white area to look white, you make the surrounding areas even darker. And this works well when you're doing like fur in a dog or a cat or something, to make some areas of the fur look lighter. You have to go darker than what it necessarily is in between in order to make it pop a little bit more. And so by me putting down a base shade here, even though it is very light up here, like I think I only used a 5H pencil on this, it's enough to show, to make the eyes and the teeth look whiter. Let's see. Whoops. Oh, so live. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Really, really appreciate it. It's very generous. Clarence the Liar, I can almost see the brown of his neck against the black of the mic, even though it's all in grayscale. Yeah, and that's part of the trick, and that's part of the reason why I was using different smudging techniques, is to get a different texture and to get a different sense of these are different colors, even though they might be the same shade. So that can be a bit of a challenge. I've also been working on the clothing, because a lot of the times I'm not happy with how I've simplified the clothing, but I'm quite happy with the t-shirt here and how that turned out. And yeah, it is just a matter of, because in the actual pictures I was using, the black here on the mic is the same color as his hair, but you know, you want to distinguish it somehow to make it feel like a different texture, to look like a different thing, even though it's basically the same shade. Articus Among Us, what would you charge for that size, Sandy? It's not so much about size, it's about the time it takes. And so I base the commission portraits I do on the average time it takes for me to do that portrait, to do a portrait, because I've been timing it out as I've been going along. And so, as I say, they're not cheap, but they're very reasonably priced for what they are and for how much work I put into them. And now that I've done this one, I would be able to tell you how much I would charge for it, which is a lot. But sometimes it might be hard for me to predict. And if it's hard for me to predict, I'll probably underestimate it. But the price that I charge for a standard portrait is $500. But that counts for the hours of work that I put in, but it's also the overhead. So the supplies, the cost it takes for me to go and get it digitally scanned. This doesn't even include the time it takes for me to make those little videos. I'll actually, why don't I just pop up that video while we're talking? Actually, I can do it from, bring this up. So in the price includes this that I do. So this is the progress drawings that I do with it. And then I blend them together to make these short videos. And I don't charge for the time it takes for me to make these. The extra time it takes for me to set up the easel, to make sure that I get the pictures all straight and in the same angle so that I can blend them together. Because partly it's because I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I'm not going to charge somebody extra for something I'm going to do anyway, because this is amazing advertising for me. You know, putting this up online, I don't see other artists doing this. I see other artists trying to do progress photos that they've blended together, but they don't set it up on a separate easel with the camera in one place and then taking it at the exact same angle with the same lighting and then using a video editing program to merge them together with this. So the price doesn't include this extra work that I put into it. So the $500 includes this, includes, you know, the drawing, which is a 9x12 canvas. And it covers the cost of supplies. It covers the cost of me getting it digitally scanned so that I have the high quality image. Also, if people want prints of it in the future, you need the high quality scan. It's not something that you just go down to Staples and get done. You need a professional studio to do it, to get the professional quality. And the prints of my artwork are absolutely phenomenal from the studio that I go and get it done. So this drawing took more than twice as long as a regular standard portrait, to give you an idea of how much I would charge for that. And also keep in mind, all you Americans, I'm talking Canadian dollars, so it's less American dollars. People saying I nailed it. I think you're talking about... Yeah, because Dan even, I think you're talking about the skin color. Because Dan even mentioned that it's something that he looks for, is the blending and the shading in the dark skin, which is, it is a lot different than drawing somebody who is white. Even though, because one of my things that I'm really hesitant to do is to make things darker and darker and darker. And a good example of that is I have 2 portraits of Sam Cedar, like good portraits of Sam Cedar that I had done. One I gave to him when I went to Boston, and one I just wanted a portrait for myself. And you can tell even between those 2 portraits, the darker I've gotten with it, because Sam is not pale. So I had to go a lot darker than I was originally comfortable with. And it's about pushing my own limits with it. Like when I did my own portrait, there was stark contrast on it between shadow and pale. So I didn't have to worry about like feature shading, making it look like that. But so even with the portrait of Sam, it was a matter of pushing myself to get into the darker shades. And you can see those drawings on my webpage, SandeeLovas.com. You can go there and see what I'm talking about. Did I just get another like super generous, huge super chat? Oh, wow. Mail this to Dan. Soul Life, thank you so much for the $50. Mail it to Dan. I think you're talking about the drawing and not me mailing him $50. I think is what you're saying. I'll let him know that, because we'll talk about it off air, but I'll let him know that you put in towards sending him one, because it is cross-border, so I don't put the full value. I say it's worth $80, because if it's under 100, you don't have to worry about customs so much. But I might have to put the full value down just for insurance reasons. But if it's just the print, because I've told him I'll be sending, like, he gets the print at no cost to him. At no cost. No, I will send him a print at cost. So that's the cost of the actual print from the studio, as well as shipping it. But I'll let him know, Soul Life, that you put in some money towards him getting a print of it. And I'm sure he'll be thrilled. Good for Gabby. Can you imagine getting a birthday present like that? You have to be selective. I know Dan well enough, and I've seen his reaction to art before, because a while ago for his birthday, when I did have money, I actually did send him a print of one of the Michael Brooks drawings I did. And the way he talks and stuff, I know him well enough to know he would like a portrait of himself. Like, he might not necessarily want to hang it on his wall and stuff of that sort, but he would appreciate it. Like, he would really appreciate it. And I say this because not everyone wants to see themselves. So, and I actually have this on my webpage. I can't remember if it's in the terms and conditions of the portrait itself, or if I just have it on the webpage as a warning to, if you're going to get a portrait of someone as a gift to them, think it through first. Don't do it as a way of trying to show somebody that you think they're beautiful. If somebody is struggling with their own appearance and stuff like that, they might appreciate the skill and the talent that goes into the drawing, but they might not like looking at the drawing. And then that's a lot of, thought and energy and time and money putting into a gift that they'll never actually truly appreciate. And I say that I wouldn't want somebody randomly doing a portrait this detailed of me and sending it to me. Like, yes, I did a portrait of me, but that was a very selected photo of when I was giving myself a photo shoot. It's very stark contrast and it's very expressioned. But it's not just some random picture of me. I wouldn't actually like that per se. So you have to be a little bit wary of trying to understand or trying to know if the person you're sending a picture of, if it's something that they would actually appreciate, if they would like seeing this picture of themselves, especially when they're going to be this photorealistic. And this is part of the reason why I'd be very reluctant to do a wedding photo. Because in my experience, women have a very hard time with their appearance. And when you try to do a photo shoot of them, or you try to do artwork of them, they're very, very critical of their appearance, or they're upset that this aspect of them was included. Maybe it's the size of their face, or a wrinkle, or the way their hair falls, or the shape of their nose, or anything of that sort. So you could potentially adjust it for them, but then it's not going to look like them, and it's not going to represent them, and it's always going to be this fake image of them. And so it's very tricky. I did a portrait of Sam Cedar and sent it to him and gave him one as a gift because I knew he would like it. He's full of himself. I knew that's something he would like. I'm not going to do one of Emma and send it to her because I get the very distinct feeling she wouldn't like it. I get the feeling she struggles with her appearance. And to want to see somebody like that then react to your drawing and be like in ooh and ah over it when they're trying to hide the fact that they don't want to be looking at themselves can be a bit tricky. So, and I was talking to Bam behind the scenes about this drawing too, because I wanted to share it while I was working on it with somebody, and Bam was recently on my show, so I'm like, look at this, as I was working on it. And even because I was mentioning it to Bam, like, I hope Dan likes it. And Bam's like, well, who wouldn't want a portrait of himself? And then I kind of explained it, and then Bam's like, yeah, now that you mention it, I wouldn't want a portrait of me. So it can be tricky. And that's why I really caution people about getting a portrait of someone, of them as a gift. That was a lot of words. Clarence the Liar, Sandy, do you use a fixative spray? I've just started using one. Yeah, so the process in which I do this is, for those keen-eyed people, you'll notice there's no signature on this. Not yet, because I'm going to go and get it scanned, and then that way, all the prints I have to sign. So it's a way of basically people knowing that it is authentically something from me. The print is from me. It's one of mine. Is that it has to have an original signature. So after I get it scanned, I'll put my signature on this original, then I'll put the spray on it. It's only something that I've recently felt comfortable enough using. It seems to work fine. No complaints with it so far. So as I start to frame all of my drawings, I'll be using it on them. And it's just, for those of you who don't know, it's something to help stop it from smudging, to stop the lead from fading and that sort of thing. And so you can touch the drawing afterwards and it's not going to smudge once you put the spray on it. Let's see. Bad Lefty, was that Dan's intro jingle? Yes, it was. When I do a portrait of somebody in particular, if I can, I want to match the music to them. And so the one that I did of Sam Cedar, I have a jingle with that one that I actually put together. It's the music from the AM Quickie, back when it used to be audio. And so I was able to splice together some of the music from there, but then I added on some of his mannerisms. The recent portrait that I did of Michael Brooks for myself, it's the Michael Brooks theme music on there. Good for Gabby. My best friend does hyper-realistic portraits for commissions, but they don't capture the essence of the person to this extent. So good. I've looked at others and did research, and there's lots of, again, very talented people out there with different styles and different techniques. If anything, I'm underselling the value of my work by what I'm charging. A lot of artists don't actually put how much that they're charging on their websites and stuff. I put it, it's there. And there's a lot of people who do a really fantastic job, but it doesn't take them nearly as long as me. So they don't charge as much. And then there's other people who charge more than me, but then would also charge a lot more for that progress video that goes along with it. So it's all, you know, one card garage will charge more per hour than another card garage because there's this thing about service and style and technique and atmosphere and all that sort of stuff. So we might be willing to go with that one than this one. And it's the same with this type of artwork, you know. This isn't the style that some people might like. And then other people might really like that. And then somebody else might really, like when you go to a lot of outdoor festivals or things of that sort, especially in the summer, there's usually that portrait drawer there that will do a portrait in like 15 minutes and charge you $30 or $40 for it. And it's usually like a pretty decent portrait. So yeah, you just kind of have to go with it. Crystal Saphira, worth $1,000 easy. Basically, that's how much that drawing would cost for commission. Would be roughly about that. Even though technically it took longer, but that's probably what I would estimate it at. Because a standard portrait doesn't include a hand, doesn't include an arm, doesn't include the mic stand, you know, that sort of thing. Clarence the Liar. Sandy, why are you so friggin' thoughtful and nice? Well, probably because I've lived through rough times and I have a lot of compassion and empathy for those who do. Speaking of which, if you go to my website, you'll notice that there's a tab called donations. And what that means is people can just donate money towards a portrait. And once I get enough money that would cover the cost of a portrait, what I will do is do a random call out on Twitter for people living with poverty to send in images that they would like one done, and I will do a raffle and pick one to receive a portrait at no cost to them. So that way somebody living with poverty can have a beautiful gift that they would never be able to afford, because I don't want people who live with poverty to be denied this all the time. And so far one has been done, because if I switch screens here, my cat Frodo has had, in the fall, had some very expensive vet bills, and he now has ongoing vet bills as I'm dealing with his kidney disease and stuff. And when I took him in for an emergency, the vet bills were really high, and a random stranger donated over $500 towards his vet bills. And just because I was so blown away by that generosity, I said, okay, I am going to do a portrait for somebody at no cost to them. And one person entered that draw. So that person got a drawing that meant so much to them. And so that will be going up on the donation page soon on my webpage. I need to get all of that updated soon. So yeah, keep that in mind. People can just send money towards a portrait that will go to somebody living with poverty. Because all too often I've been in a situation where I would love this customized personal thing that I simply can't afford. And, you know, I want to pay it forward whenever I can. Well, a print of the drawing for Soul Life and people asking, a print of the drawing is a hell of a lot cheaper than the actual drawing. So a print for a standard portrait, it gets printed out on an 11 by 14 page, but the drawing itself is still it's a full size print. Like it's an actual size print. And those are only $80. And so for Dan's birthday, I think, well, at cost. So the $80, you know, it's the cost of the actual print being made, but then, you know, I actually get a profit from it. So the more prints I could sell, that's actually a lot of passive income for me. So yes, prints of the drawings that I do are a hell of a lot cheaper than the actual drawing, and the prints are more expensive depending on how big the actual drawing was. But at cost, that $50, you know, that helps a lot. That covers the shipping easily. Bad Lefty, to be honest, I thought we might have to got a few tears out of him. He didn't cry. I think he got close, but he didn't cry. When Dan saw the drawing. Soul Life, Emma is beautiful. I did hear her say otherwise before. Yeah, I get the feeling she's very self-conscious about her appearance. So, like, I'm almost tempted to be like, don't worry, Emma. I'm never going to send in a portrait of you. Expecting to get an interaction from you on screen or something like that. So, you know, like the reason why I'm not drawing her isn't because I don't appreciate her on the majority report, whereas I've done a couple portraits of Sam, but it is literally, I don't think she would appreciate it. And I don't think she has any pets. So it's not like I could just draw a picture of her dog or cat. Yeah. Emergency remedial truth. I am humble enough to admit I am vain enough I would love a branded portrait of myself. Yes. Some people would love portraits of themselves, but you kind of get a feel for it, you know, as you go along. Robert G, is that a Michael Brooks fridge magnet? If you're talking about this, no, it's a sticker that I just haven't stuck on anything. Letter Hacks design. Every now and then the Letter Hack would release a run of this design on posters, t-shirts, mugs, and stuff as a way to raise money for charity. So I don't know if he's going to do it again, but they're not currently available. At least not from Letter Hack. You can find people ripping off his design, but if you want to get it from Letter Hack, then you have to bug him to do another release. 0PE, I wouldn't want a portrait of myself. Hell, I still get freaked out hearing my voice recording, LOL. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, some people would, some people wouldn't. I was a bit nervous just even having the Letter Hack do a cartoon drawing of me. But then he did it the first time and I loved it. So so I'm okay with it now. But yeah, I'm like, ideally, if people wanted to send me artwork of something, sending me artwork of me, I wouldn't recommend. I have cats, very beautiful cats that you know, you can make artwork of my cats, but I wouldn't necessarily want a picture of me. Nope, I did one commission piece in my life and it was a terrible experience, but the client was happy. Yeah. Again, that's part of the reason why I don't think I'd want to do one for a wedding. Just, I've seen too many Bridezilla type movie, TV show clips, things of that sort, and how nitpicky and stuff. And I could just imagine a bride getting upset with me because I drew her exactly as she is. Or something of that sort. So, and then, you know, they might want the fine detail of the dress and all that sort of stuff. So if you have a portrait of two people with detailed dress or outfits and things, it's going to be really expensive. And the amount of time and energy I would have to put into it, and the fact that there'd be almost no resale value on a print of it, you know, there's no refunds. Like, I wouldn't allow for a refund. And I could just imagine some brides getting really upset that it's not exactly how they wanted it or something. And I don't want to deal with that headache. I don't. I want to make artwork that makes people happy. So I think I'm just going to steer clear of weddings. But so far, the only person who has officially ordered a commission from me is my mom of my nephew's dog, and she was very happy with it. So. And the pictures that I've drawn of people that they know so far think that they're amazing. So I need to find a better way of advertising. Because I get so confused sometimes because people are like, you know, oh, well, people only make money in art if they're exceptional at it and things of that sort. And I'm looking at my drawings and they've seen my drawings. And I'm like, so are mine not exceptional? Like, are my drawings not that exceptional? If you look at my, like, if we go to, let's go here and here and professional prints. Sort by type, okay. There we go. Are you telling me that is not an exceptional drawing? That huge drawing, that is a large ass drawing. Are you telling me that's not exceptional? Now that it's up, so I'll tell you, I'll show you. Actually, are they back to back? That would make it easy. No, they are. So this is the portrait that I had given Sam when I went to Boston versus this one that I did for myself because I wanted a portrait for myself. And as you can see, I went much darker on his skin with this one than I did with this one. But as you can see, this is the portrait I did of me, where I am pale, pasty, but it's very stark. You know, the shading, the lighting, the expression. Anyway. Yes, I can show off my art all the time. I haven't had a showing. I only tapped into this skill since COVID. So I haven't had like a gallery showing yet. And I'd love to have my art up on display. Just as an artist, you want to see people's reaction to it and see if they feel something, you know? So I'm looking forward to having my first art show. But before I can do that, I need to frame all my artwork. And that's part of the problem living with poverty is, you know, it's expensive to frame all of them. Articus among us, all my pets are money pit, and I'll do it again and again. Yes, mine are money pits, and like Frodo right now is the most expensive thing I've ever owned with all of his vet bills, but he's worth every penny. Absolutely. I love him so, so much. Yes, the cat that I just showed was Tulip, and that's kind of like a memorial piece to her. And the drawing, when you look at it, it is Tulip. It's not a generic cat. When you see it, if you know who she was, you feel her in the drawing. You really do. And I can't wait to get that one framed, because then I can put it out on my wall as opposed to hiding it away from where the little monsters won't get at it. But it's a very big drawing. So I need a big frame for it. But I love just looking at it, the detail and everything. I love looking at the details. Like, that's me being full of myself. I love looking at my own artwork. Clarence the Liar. Oh my God, I can see how you've improved and already a fantastic. Oh, I'll show you something then. I'll show you something. The drawing I did that I first remembered or touched into the fact that I had this skill was after a letter hack had said, for my birthday, I want people to draw a portrait of Sam Cedar for me. And I said, okay. And that's when I rediscovered my talent for art. This is it. You look at that, and 3 years later, you get this. That's the improvement in 3 years. So 3 years ago, I drew this. And now you get this. Yeah, that was an improvement. Definitely an improvement. It's like I look at this one now and I'm kind of like, wow, it almost looks like I did that in crayon or something. But this is the one that I did that while I was working on it, I felt like I actually captured an essence of Sam in it and realized, oh my God, I can still draw. And just 3 short years later, got that. Yes, I could just continuously show off my art for the rest of this stream. Zero PE, really like the second one of Sam. Yeah, it's a nice portrait of him too. I really like it. And there's a good video of him showing it off that I've clipped. It's on my channel, where you can actually see him showing off the drawing, and it's like, because he's really thrilled with it, and it made me very happy. It's like, I made Sam Cedar speechless. Yay! Soul Life frame costs money, Chad. Can you afford donating $1? Yes. There are frames from Michael's art stores that come in pack of 3s that actually are decent enough. And when they go on sale, they're actually semi-affordable. Because Walmart has cheap frames. However, the mats are not acid-free. And you want acid-free mats. Zero PE, would you ever consider doing a portrait in color, Sandy? I have tried. I did one of Sam Cedar, surprisingly enough. Doing a picture of Sam Cedar almost became a bit of a tradition because I did that first one, that pencil drawing, and then the next year, I attempted one in color with him like holding out an apple. The apple looks really good. His portrait, though, it's good. It's okay. It's not that great. It's not that great. Let's see if I will even show it. Like, let's see how bad it was. Okay. Just for you guys, I'll show it. There it is. I like the apple. The picture itself is not that great. But the apple turned out really well. And that is actually a Snapdragon apple, which is his favorite. So this was the 2nd year anniversary of Letter Hack's drawing challenge. Then the 3rd year I did cartoon, like a cartoon strip of and it's horrible. It's just horrible. I can't do cartoons. I need more practice with color. Some color that have turned out though is like the butterfly that I did. I also have this sunset that I did in color. And here's the thing about these ones. The pencil crayons I'm using are shit. They're not great quality pencil crayons. So the ones, when you see colored portraits from pencil crayons online, the quality of the pencil crayon is so much better. It makes for easier blending and things of that sort. But they're extraordinarily expensive. I have them on my Amazon wish list, if anybody so do desire. So it'll take a little bit of time and practice before I could do a colored portrait with pencil crayon. And I'm just experimenting with acrylic paints. I've only done like one painting so far. And so in the near future, I want to do another painting at least and get used to that before I try doing portraits with paint and stuff of that sort. But Lefty, to be frank, Sam is getting better looking with time also. He has matured nicely. he looks better now than he did like back when he was 30. I think most people would agree with that. So Live, I don't think he knows yet. Be cat. What did be? Your boss finding out about something with 60 days. Get any trouble with the boss? Are you so Live? BCAT K mentioning that custom frames are astronomical. They are. And the mats that come with the frames will never fit the drawing. Luckily, I'll just cut the mat myself. I'm good enough with a ruler and lining things out that I'll just cut the mat myself to a custom size as opposed to having to pay an extra $30 for a custom cut mat. It doesn't look that professional, but you know, I'll make do until I start making tons and tons of money from my artwork. And then I can afford like really good quality, high quality frames for them. Lanier has decided to hop on my lap. 0 PE. Sam looks much older in your first portrait. To be fair, the picture I was working from, he doesn't look that great. Because I was looking online for pictures because I wanted something that was higher def, and it's him on MSNBC. It's not a great picture of him, but it was a clear picture of him. Monopa, honestly, if you did an art stream, I'd watch. Yeah, I don't know how many people would be interested in just watching the paper as I scribble on it. And again, it's tricky just given lighting and all that sort of stuff and how long it takes. Let's see. Zero PE. I think the color portrait was damn good. You'll only just get much better, in my opinion. Yeah, with practice, I imagine I'll get quite good with it. Soul Life. Your work was set down for 60 days and your boss is back and he's a right-wing POS. You should team up with Letterhack because Letterhack was going... He would always tweet out messages from his right-wing neighbor and it's like, you need to make that into a comic strip. And then it's like, you could have your right-wing boss in with that too. only Letterhack's neighbor was, he was right wing, but still sounded like a semi-decent person. I like not having a boss. Mono, I was thinking an art stream where you just talk about your art like you're doing now. But you're already doing it now and I'm watching. Ah, okay. But wow, I've been at this for a while, so I should probably be letting you guys go, but just went off on some random tangents with my artwork. I just can't wait for the day that I can actually have it set up in a gallery and see people react to my artwork. That I'm looking forward to, but you know, the challenges of like even having an art booth and an art show, it's daunting because you need to pay to be in the art show, then you need to rent a table, then you need to find a way of displaying it, and yeah, it's hard trying to break through the market. But I get the feeling once people realize my ability, I'll get more people interested. But until then, whenever I have a friend who hasn't been over for a while, it's like, you need to come over to my place so I can use my living room like an art gallery. But I should be going. I have a snuggly cat in my lap here. Come on. Come on. He's purring. I don't know. Can you guys actually hear him purr? Like, I'm seeing it register on the sound, but I'm not sure you guys can actually hear his purr. He is such a sweetheart, this one. He's such a snuggler. Abernathy, though, his brother, complete terror right now. Just complete terror. Hi. Bad Lefty, somehow get Hassan to commission something. Yeah. I'd like to... I have tried, actually. I've tried reaching out to some content creators and said to them, if you do an unboxing of a portrait live on your streams and your platforms, I will make you one at no cost as a way to advertise. Got no bites with it, though. Asked a few people. Part of it is one person who I'm pretty sure would actually really like it never saw the message. Because I have a way of sending messages online through my YouTube channel where it's unlisted, so it's not public, and I can see how many views it gets, and I know that they didn't see it. Though I tried having somebody pass it to them and stuff, and yeah. And then other people just don't get back or aren't interested, or it's a little bit more complicated. But I would love to find a streamer who has like a large platform that would like something like this, that would actually read the email or the message that I send them, so that I can then offer them a portrait of themselves or a pet at no cost if they do the unboxing and plug my website. Clarence the Liar, by law, you must end the stream to administer further attention to Kitty, or there will be severe legal consequences. Yes. You guys know the drill. All this stuff. The next show, I'll see about Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure. I'm behind on clipping these videos. I haven't clipped Friday's stream at all. I don't know how much I'll be clipping from this one. We'll see. So I will see how far behind I am on that. I also need to spend time focusing on how to publish my book. Because I have a book, it's ready to be published. I need to get it done. It is a project this year that I need to do. I need to get this done. And with my ADHD and stuff like that, it's very difficult to do this final step. The book is done. It's edited. It's ready to be published. It just needs a cover and a place to distribute it. That's all it needs. Like, that's all. It's just driving me crazy. This book has been ready to go for years, literally years. So I need to spend time just focusing on that. So we'll see. If there's not one Wednesday, there'll be one Friday, providing there's no unforeseen circumstances between now and then. So I'll try for Wednesday, but there'll be Friday. And until then, thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you to all the wonderful mods for keeping the sandbox clean of turds. Also not listed up here, because I don't know if there's a proper icon for it. I have an Amazon wish list, link in the description box below. And that's a great way if you just have a little bit of cash and you want to send me a nice little pick-me-up, a treat, or something to help with my art studio, something to help with my YouTube studio. There's lots of things to pick from. Little treats for my cats as well. That's linked in the description box below. I recently loaded it with a lot of chocolate. Easter is my favorite candy holiday, and there's certain chocolates and candies that come out only around Easter. And so I've put a whole bunch of that on my wish list. The Cadbury mini eggs are my favorite chocolate in the whole wide world, and a bag of those go a long way because I don't binge eat them. I just eat little bits of them now and then, and they're fabulous and I love them so much. So yeah, check out the wish list. And again, thank you everyone for coming out. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.